Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Time Theft today. What job are you not doing right now? That's that's our greeting. That's our new greeting.
Yep.
We rebranded the show recently as being all about time theft.
Mhm.
Where all my unemployed heads at also too.
Yep.
We love you. Um,
Us unemployed people are always time thefting. Like everything we do is time theft.
yes, it's the highest form of time theft. Like it's like that one Tumblr post that's like Sun Tzu said, "Post as if you are unemployed, even if you are not."
Uh,
So everyone, we are joined today by my friend Jersey Noah. I've been wanting to ask him to be on the show for quite a while. So thank you so much for being here, Jersey. Jersey, if you don't know, is a an amazing autistic pro-Palestinian organizer and activist out of the Bay Area. He has been doing a lot of really impactful work, really disruptive actions out of that area. Honestly, like the organizing that's happening out of the Bay Area is so inspiring. It's on a caliber that I wish more of the country would get on. And we've talked about some of these actions before, like Block the Boat, where Jersey was a medic, um, uh, blocking the Bay Bridge, which Jersey is one of the Bay Bridge 78 who's facing charges for having blocked the bridge. And we can talk a little bit more about that in a little bit here. And then just this week, a couple days ago, was that a fundraiser for Gavin Newsom, or what was that
It,
that
wa- it
y'all were
was
disrupting?
it was his friend's book signing.
what a
like,
bitch. You think you can hide?
Oh,
yeah,
that's
it was just
that's even better. Harassing this bitch at his friend's book signing, um, for his complicity in genocide and failure to support a ceasefire and end to the genocide. Uh, Fuck yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Amazing.
that's the shit. Bothering people when they're getting dinner, when they're like going to their niece's christening, like that kind of shit is
Yeah. No peace
some of my favorite.
for genociders. like
yeah. I feel like this whole thing started because the first like really disruptive small group thing was the CEO and like board executives of Chevron. We found out where they were having dinner, a private dinner, and we just made a bunch of reservations and
oh fuck.
yeah.
That's
Oh
amazing.
my god, that's sick. I did not realize that so y'all had, like, tables at the restaurant?
Mhm. Mhm. We took up like half the restaurant probably, and just act like Remy and I were like on a date. The table next to us was like a group of friends celebrating something. Yeah, and at that one, I feel like that's what kind of kicked off this like consistent because people saw that and wanted more of that to happen, so more people are sharing information.
yeah.
Mhm. Like, when people have inside information of, like, this politician is gonna be here, that kinda thing, like
Yes. There's some things I feel like we're going to talk about that I'm like, I don't know what I should say.
yeah, oh, yeah. It's
But
don't incriminate anyone,
I
yeah.
will
Yeah.
say that like workers have played like a really big role in direct actions for a long time.
Yeah.
Also, some of
Mhm.
these things they made, like the Newsom thing, they put tickets up and had his name, and then they backtracked and put private, like special guests. So some things it's
Mm.
like
They're not doing
you
their
can just
OPSEC very well.
yeah, yeah. Or like we went to Biden's hotel a few weeks ago, and that was like knowing what time we knew what hotel he generally stays at in San Francisco, but knowing like the times he would be there and stuff. Like we found out like the day before. You can get Biden's kind of general schedule the day like one day before the schedule is
Mhm.
happening. So like tonight we could get one for tomorrow.
Right.
Mhm.
And we knew he was going to be here, so it was like looking at that for times, like, okay, he's leaving San Francisco at 12:30. You know, he's probably leaving the hotel around 11:30 or whatever.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really disgusting the way that Biden like doesn't he doesn't go to colleges anymore, and he doesn't like all of his events are so much more locked down, and it's just like, how do you not understand that you can't like how much of the US is against you when that happens, like ugh.
I think
Yeah.
they keep like him in a tight little comfortable bubble. You know, I don't.
Right.
It's like I'm sure he knows, but like I don't think he has to experience it that often.
Oh,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah. So
Right.
it's especially like, I mean, I love when it's like Gavin Newsom, or even especially like, fucking CEOs, because it's like they don't get that kind of that kind of like they are able to have their shit cloaked. So it's great when it's like, "Oh no, we see you. You can't
Yeah.
hide."
Weren't you, Jersey, just like right outside of Nancy Pelosi's car like a couple weeks ago, right?
Nancy Pelosi gets fucked with all the time because she lives in San Francisco.
Oh
So
wow, I didn't
like
know that.
Gavin Newsom's in Sacramento, we don't like see him here that often. And but Nancy Pelosi literally lives in San Francisco, and because it's such like a densely populated city, there's not like a gate around her house, or like she's just like a big brick mansion next to other brick mansions, but there's not like a lot of space or a lot of yard. It's very easy to go up to her front door. But they're
Oh,
definitely like security's definitely used to that at this point, so like they don't let you on her property, but not being on her property, you're like 10 feet away from her front door still.
Right.
People are fucking with her all the time. Oh yeah, this was this was at a gala for this like medical gala. And the special guests were Pelosi and Scott Wiener. I don't know from afar. You all know who Scott Wiener is because he's local here, but he's just a
mhm.
terrible, terrible Zionist, like local to San Francisco. Um, and they were both here, and they got disrupted at this gala big time, like inside, outside. When they went in, when they came out, doctors inside approached them. Yeah,
Oh my
but
god. Yeah.
Pelosi is definitely going through it. Like she is getting fucked with constantly. Some people like did a thing like left a bunch of manure outside her house a few weeks ago.
Oh my god.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
It's so good. Like when you actually do have access to them because you live in a dense enough urban environment, like I mean, like the amount of fucking with like Lori Lightfoot here when she was still mayor was it was just so easy to do because she was like in one of the most hipster neighborhoods. So just like all the trans people were just out there just
Yeah.
harassing.
I live, in fucking Michigan, where nobody that's relevant lives. But when the Flint water crisis was happening, uh uh the fucking Rick Snyder, who was the governor of Michigan at the time, and he was the one that made the Flint water crisis happen. Like he's the one that uh flipped the switch and went to the other water source that everyone knew was gonna cause the Flint water crisis. He lived in Ann Arbor, which is like the area I live, which is like the super progressive area. We lost Devin.
Yeah, see, I didn't know if I was
Yeah,
understanding what was
I
happening.
was hoping he would just blip back, but um yeah, hopefully Devin can get back in. Oh, hello. Yes.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Um,
Let me just reshare
which
my screen.
yes,
Sorry, I was trying to tab out to another video, and it fucked things up. So my bad.
that's okay. I was just worried your internet catastrophically died, which
No, I was literally just trying to pull up another video of Jersey, and outside of Biden's hotel that I just
Oh yeah,
I just hit a button. So my apologies, everyone.
I think the one before that is a little more detailed. Yeah, that's like a picture of him.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm wrong. Choose whichever. You're killing it. Or doing great.
Well, you just give us a lot of material to work with.
Yeah, we usually
Um,
don't have such good easy access to visual aids, so
yeah, but I'm sorry, Maddie. I probably interrupted you talking about
Oh, I just finished my sentence
in
while
Michigan.
you were off. Just that Rick Snyder, who was the governor, and was the architect of the Flint water crisis, lived in Ann Arbor, which is like the liberal college town in Michigan, and so he always got fucked with. So
Hmm.
it's great when we have to really take advantage of the fucking means we have to, you know, enact
Yeah.
change and fuck with people.
Yeah, and the information that we have, like I think kind of just speaking to that piece of like I think that's something that maybe people don't if they haven't done a lot of this kind of work, they don't really know how essential it is for workers with kind of inside knowledge to be a part of the movement and kind of plugging us into things. And I think that even connects to like the Aaron Bushnell conversation, which we can have later on, of just
Yeah.
there are people dissenting from within these oppressive systems, or people who are just doing their like day-to-day work, whether it's like as a concierge or like a university administrator or whatever, like who
Yeah.
are plugged into this stuff in the background, that make it possible for us to know where to be, and how to kind of jump into action. And it's just a constant coordination, um, of efforts, and a lot of people taking a lot of really serious risks to their livelihoods and to their well-being potentially to be able to facilitate this stuff.
Yeah, I'd love to. I didn't, Devin. I don't know if you had a specific order of things to talk about, but I would love to hear, Jersey, about your experiences, just in particularly the what was it, block the Bay Bridge? I don't know what, I forget what the actual action
Oh,
was.
the Bay Bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, because I
There was
know.
a block here. I think you're combining two names, but I probably
Yeah,
want to talk about the bridge.
yes, yeah. I'm thinking of
Mhm.
block the boat as a name, but yes. Um, yeah, I would love to hear your, personal experiences, what it was like doing that. And then I know there's um legal fallout from that, and how that's
Yeah.
going.
I probably should have talked to my lawyer before coming
Oh,
on here, to be honest, because I know I can talk about it, but I'm like, how much?
that's a
I
good
don't
point.
know how much I can share about like what was happening. You know,
Yeah,
Hmm.
that makes
I'm
sense.
Right.
actually. You guys talk for a second. I'm gonna text them.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we can also just talk about it in very like passive voice, like the bridge was blocked for this amount of time, traffic was, blah,
Yeah,
like without any implication of yourself, because
Okay.
yeah, yeah, because we do not want you,
yeah. Do not,
no
definitely
self
do.
snitching.
Yeah, do not even worry about that. Um but yeah, that was that. I just really, really beautiful action. Um, do you? I don't know, Devin, if you know some of the. I'm trying to remember some of the details. I know basically the bridge was blocked for, or like to traffic for quite a while, but um, yeah. Uh,
Yeah. I don't remember what was exactly was reported, but it was a long time. It was hours. Um, and I
that's
don't know
incredible.
if what definitely like cops and CHP. There was just a ton. So that was the weekend that or the week that APEC was in town
Hmm.
Uh,
and Biden. So Biden was like meeting with leaders of APEC in San Francisco.
that's yeah.
Um, so the like amount of police presence was like massive. So like not only is there social security like or not sorry Secret Service, there's
Right.
they were bringing in people, from all over the state. Like some of the cops were on the bridge between Oakland, or people were on the bridge between Oakland and San Francisco, and there were cops from San Jose. Like there were just cops from all outside the Bay Area. So they definitely, some of that time is because of the amount what they were doing, and they were not like letting people through too. Like
Right.
even when people were trying to disperse off the bridge or arrested or whatever, it was like the cops weren't letting people through. Like it was a very massive police presence. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
bigger than most things.
And it's events like that when they tend to be way more retaliatory and violent against protesters. Because I know that like when the G8 was here,
Yeah.
when people were protesting that, if you were doing anything else anywhere around town, police would brutalize you and assume that you were a G8 protester and just come down on you like a ton of bricks. And the DNC is going to be here in August, and I already know that. And this is public information. This isn't like sensitive or anything. There's going to be a very big pro-Palestinian protest at the DNC, and I'm sure lots of other actions as well. So it's going to be.
Sorry, I am actually messaging with.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah,
go right
for
ahead.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not saying people did or did not block things, but I know that the cops definitely did.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, their incompetence is, and it's funny, like it does tend to make things a lot worse.
Yeah.
Which sometimes can be used by organizers to beneficial ends. But one thing we can talk about.
I think we can talk about it in like a protest sense. Like there was a protest,
Right.
which is like people's right. There was like the exact actions of what it did. I probably shouldn't speak to or what it didn't do. But
Sure.
like there was a protest, and at that time, I can't remember exact numbers, but it was just like, it was November, early November already. Like, I think it was something like 14 or 15,000 people had been murdered in Gaza.
Yeah.
Here we are, like, how many, 5-ish months later, and over 40,000 people have been murdered. And meanwhile, the district attorney of San Francisco is like moving forward with very extreme charges, and like one which, I think it's 5 charges per person, and one is false imprisonment.
Yeah.
And it's very clear, like she's trying to, it's like state violence that is like repressing protest, right? But I think a cool thing in the Bay Area is it hasn't like stopped protest.
Yeah.
And I think people need to really like, when earlier, Devin, you said something about like the Bay Area is doing so much. I wish like more places were doing such things like as often or extreme. And I think that like a big part of that is people having to like consider what they're willing to risk for this,
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's like talked amongst community here a lot. And like not just, it's like, and as things get more and more escalated and like murders increase every day in Gaza, it's like constantly having to reevaluate that, and like how does that change your personal risk level, and how does like your personal risk level affect like the rest of the community, and like not just arrest, but everything, like risk, like the kind of like violence you might face, losing a job, like there's a million things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is easier for people to contend with that level of risk when you have trust in the people that you're working with and you're doing it together.
100%.
and that's something that you've spoken to a lot online in talking about the actions you've been involved in, and just really deciding from October on to really like commit yourself to this work and cutting back on basically everything else in your life. Uh,
Yes.
other than just like
Yeah.
Yes.
like the amount of just like uh, community ties that you have experienced and enjoyed from the other people who are really living for this work and living for Palestinian liberation, and how it's really difficult, but it's also I think very clarifying.
I honestly, and it feels like I can't really connect. I just don't even know how I'd be able to connect with somebody who isn't incredibly invested in this, who's like whole heart is in it. And that means that can look like different things for different people, but it's not, it's like partially like it was definitely a conscious decision of like, I mean, it's crazy just to think about. I'm like on October 7th, I put up a post supporting Palestine, and the like amount of shit I got, I
Yeah.
can't even tell you because I didn't even I maybe did it October 8th, but the amount of shit I got, but I had said to my partner then, like I know like you know what direction, like exactly what's about to happen, right? Like the
Yeah.
and this is something as like a I've been an anti-Zionist for a long my whole I've never been I was never like indoctrinated into Zionism really like some Jewish people are. Um, I wasn't like I wouldn't say I was like raised by anti-Zionists, but I wasn't like indoctrinated into Zionism. But like when I really had a clear understanding of what like occupied Palestine meant, I was probably 18 or 19, so like 20 years ago, and it's something that became really important to me. And it's not something that's like ever been off my, I don't know, just like it's always been on my like, I don't know, like just causes that I'm like, this is like not enough people know about this, not enough people understand.
It's
I felt like
wild. It's wild
yeah,
how um entrenched the narrative, and I think that finally the narrative is starting to change, even among people that are not leftist and uh invested in politics in the same way that we are. Like it's um but it is so mind-blowing, the depth of propaganda that existed and continues to exist despite a genocide, um, between, like, just the very fundamental nature of the idea of like Zionism is anti-Semitism, and it's it's mind-boggling how deep it goes, and how far people will go. And it's terrifying because it's not even as bad here as it is in other places. Like, you hear about stuff in Europe where somebody praised, there was a movie that was made by like an Israeli and a Palestinian that was very much like it was from like why can't we all just get along thing. And there was somebody who applauded it at the film festival it was broadcast in, and then she later had to be, and this was in Germany, and she later had to be like, oh well, I was only applauding the Israeli side. Like, it's
Like even like a
mind
very liberal message,
right.
like
It was very much a movie. I'm not familiar with the movie, but from what I was reading about it, it was very much like like I said, why can't we all get along? And it's even that is too much. It's disgusting, and it's hard to reckon with, especially like even before this genocide. It's been going on for 70 years, and it's really disgusting. And so I fucking get it. I get it, and I appreciate so much that you being as invested as you are. Is it gives me fucking it gives me hope to see the actions that are happening. It's because it's been so ignored for so long.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know. Devin, you go, then I'll go.
Okay, talk over me if it comes back to you. Quarian8 in the chat said, I have a lot to say about the default Zionism in Jewish day schools as someone who went through it. Had
Yeah.
another relative reach out to me today to express hurt over my pro-Palestinian posting. Yeah, I have a lot of friends who have taught at different Jewish day schools throughout Chicago, and it certainly varies. But some of them are just downright jingoistic in the messaging that gets put out, and it's part of just American propaganda, imperialist propaganda more broadly.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and it has been really, I think this is just such a clarifying issue of, I think for me, I would give certain kind of progressive liberals in the past a certain degree of leeway where I would think, oh, you're a social democrat, whatever. Like maybe we can get you, maybe we can bring you on to the side of more radical things. But this is such a clear Rubicon. Like the people who are still fucking cowards about talking about this, it is it, and like the number of like autistic people, like the number of like autism posters online, disability justice people who don't talk about this, like it just really, Palestinian liberation is this incredibly clarifying issue of like whether somebody is actually about the destruction of these oppressive imperialistic systems, and a lot of people are not. They're really not about it.
Yeah.
And they're not willing to make those sacrifices for.
Yeah, and then I think it's complicated because then people start, of course, like anti-Zionist Jewish people like that are like being active in this right now, like get called things like capos and race traitors and Nazis. But at the same time, I feel like I'm also like constantly called a hero for participating in the same things my like Palestinian and Arab friends and comrades are, and they're like called terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I've definitely kind of like if you look at my comments, especially on Instagram, because TikTok goes back and forth with like, are these Zionists commenting? Are these supporters? I'm not going to say anti-Zionist because not everybody who wants a ceasefire is an anti-Zionist. But it's this thing that's like definitely happening a lot where it's like, yeah, calling me or saying like my heroes or blah blah blah, and then I'm like I could literally be doing the same exact thing as a Palestinian, and more like there definitely are Zionists who call me terrorist and stuff, but like very different experience. So that's like because I'm not a fucking hero. Like I like people are literally being killed in like mass numbers.
Yeah.
Like we're all watching it all the time. People are like literally being killed through starvation. Like what a terrible fucking way to die.
Yeah.
How could we all not be doing everything we possibly can? And sometimes that means like fucking up the rest of our life a little bit. Like it would feel a lot worse to not be doing a thing and not be like I honestly can't like wrap my head around like people are like how are you doing so much? I'm like, how is everybody not doing everything they possibly can? And it sucks because often like you feel I wouldn't say I'm like a motivated by hope kind of person. Like that's not really what inspires me. Like I'm fucking angry and like sometimes it's like a lack of hope that like makes you throw everything kind of like out there and be like I'm gonna do whatever the fuck because this is the type of situation. Like if you're not willing to risk more for this than like a lot of other things, it's like what are you willing to do in general? Like especially people that are like so against the state and like so against I don't know all the repression we're seeing and like state sanctioned violence here. It's like, oh, how do people not see the commonalities and how all of this is connected? Or how could you just like fight it if it was like something outside like your front doors. Like we're literally watching it. It's the most lives. It's the most public genocide in history. You know, like this has never. I used to feel like when you'd see those things, I was like, what would you do if you were alive during slavery or the Holocaust or whatever? And then people saying like, you're doing it right now about this, and I'm like, God, that couldn't be more true. That couldn't possibly be more true. It's like very cliche, but I'm like, we are literally watching it happen. Like
Yeah.
electeds will not say the word genocide because it will make the U.S. complicit and will make them complicit as individuals in genocide, and that's a really big problem for them. Like
Yeah.
that's the point we're at. Where like, yeah. Anyway.
There was this tweet that I saw yesterday where someone said, this is William Holden on Twitter. I recently asked my parents what they remembered about the Vietnam War, and they both said, not much. I was busy.
Oof.
Oh man.
Just and those of us that are willing to make a sacrifice for the things that we believe in, especially the people who are really making really valiant sacrifices, are pathologized as crazy or as radicals. But it seems it's so fucking unhinged and like a forced self-delusion to just keep going about business as usual when there's just like nothing that some people won't just normalize and get accommodated to.
Can you hear me? My headphones said they're dying.
Oh yeah, we can still hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can hear you. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
cool,
if your headphones die, we can. There is some anti-echo stuff on it, so we should still be able to. It should still be okay. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's one, and I linked to this Instagram post of yours in the essay that I published this week that was featuring a lot of like quotes from you about how you balance a lot of like autistic needs and limitations with doing this activist work. But I think this is just this post that you made back in November about what it means to really reorient your life around this commitment to this work. I think is just still, it's really stayed with me. And I thought it might be nice to just highlight for a second. Because I think it also helps answer the question of like, how does one stay doing this work?
Now I can tell you if I was right or not because it's been a lot the last 5 months.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be worth kind of revisiting your feelings about it now. People keep asking me how I am finding the energy to participate IRL so often and in physically intensive ways. I think some of you would benefit from understanding the intention I set on October 8th. I knew that making commitments to myself around this work was important. As someone with a low social battery, I allowed myself to let go of any social obligations that weren't incredibly important to me and or someone I love. I decided to stop making new social commitments, aside from things like birthdays of loved ones. When I let these things go indefinitely, my availability increased. My energy was saved, and I knew inevitably I would crave social interaction at some point. But what actually ended up happening was that emptiness you feel when you isolate never showed itself. My desire to be around people was and is being fulfilled in a very gratifying way. I am surrounded by people brought together for a common goal, and I feel united in the labor, commitment, passion, and sense of justice. Connecting with people through these things is actually a lot more fulfilling for me. No one is there to make small talk. Everyone is there to do the work. I am also carefully choosing where I participate, where I could be most effective based on need, my capacity, and my abilities. I never told myself I'd go to any and everything happening. I told myself I would do as much as I can and be honest with myself about how much I am able to do. And I reassess this often. I am making an attempt to live by and pursue. Can you tell us how to pronounce that? CDEC?
That works, yeah. Physics.
Okay, CDEC. Which for me means that at the end of every day, I know I did my best. Lastly, for people asking me how to find out about what's happening and where you live, follow local people, local groups doing the work, Palestinian Youth Movement, AROC Bay Area, Jewish Voice for Peace Bay Area. We've talked some about a little bit more in the past about organizations local to Chicago and other places, but yeah. Do you think that like reflects where you are at now?
It made me feel a little emotional, to be
It's
honest. Yeah, I
it's
haven't looked back at
beautiful.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like the reassessing capacity often is very real, and yeah, I can tell you that since I wrote that, the one thing I can't think of really anything I've done in person socially that isn't around Palestine action. Besides, at one time, I like met my friend's new partner, and my best friend's new partner. We went to karaoke, and then I think since that there was like one birthday thing I went to. I'm like, I really don't. Uh, this it's like definitely a choice, uh, but it has definitely allowed me to put my capacity elsewhere and feels much more important right now. And also like there's a lot of communicating with people right now and like the last 5 months in a way that doesn't like it fulfills that like I need people in my life. And like I said earlier, it's like I can't really connect with anybody whose like whole heart isn't in this right now.
Yeah.
So my friend and I were saying in a message a few weeks ago, we're like, never have I ever cared and loved so many like cis straight people so deeply. And I'm like, yeah, there's like, I'm like, because like it's so true. I'm that kind of person who like assumes everybody's queer. And as I've like gotten to know people, I'm like, oh, not like everybody I've been interacting with this whole time is queer. That shocks me. And I'm like, and now I have all these like straight people in my life that I'm like, wow, these are like great people. I had no idea, like, so it's like to me, it's like, yeah, there's a ton of trans people too. And obviously a lot of queer people, but it's like, it just feels so much bigger than, I don't know, than like what I am used to. And yeah, this definitely it made me a little emotional. So yeah, it's been as like rewarding as it has been frustrating, and it's been as like, I don't know, energy enhancing as it has been like debilitating, but it's like I can't imagine doing anything else with my time right now, or the majority of my time.
Yeah. It's it uh, it's really beautiful how many people have come out.
And I don't even, this is like, I was going to say this earlier, this is like the first time I've agreed to talk like on something live, or really in general, like I won't talk to reporters. If it is a reporter that like I think is like leaning in the right direction, I connect them with someone else. But
Yeah.
like I don't give statements ever, and and there's like a lot of reasons for that. But I was like, Devin's like my good friend. I can do this. But now that I'm here, I'm a little like, I don't know so much like, yeah, what I shouldn't say. Like there are things, and also it's like making me process a little bit. I'm like, oh yeah, wow, that was many, many months ago that I wrote that, and it definitely still applies.
Yeah, I mean, we have stuff that we like had like ideas of what this conversation could be, but like really anything want to talk about, and like more or less in whatever ways you are comfortable talking about it, because we really appreciate you coming on and talking about this stuff.
Thanks. I think what's important to me is just always bringing it back to like why this is happening, like why Gavin Newsom like is getting, disrupted at a bookstore, why like CEOs can't have a private dinner, why like people are protesting on bridges, why people are like doing these things and putting their energy there, and just that it always comes back to like, because more people are dying every day, because like the US is literally funding Israel's weapons to kill 13,000 children in the last 5 months. Like,
not to mention like UN, blocking UN ceasefire requests, and You know, this
Mm-hmm.
is the liberal idea of like this is all that we can do is so disgusting and minimizing.
Yeah, and just like the I don't know, like fucking lip service Biden's constantly giving, like
Yeah.
the whole idea that like the US is giving aid to Gaza now. And I saw this tweet that said something along the lines of celebrating the US giving aid, like airdropping aid over Gaza is like celebrating an abuser who cut you open and then put a band-aid over it to bleed when it was bleeding or something. And it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah. Yeah. And I think there was like this kind of hope for a little while there that like a ceasefire has to be called. Like a ceasefire has to be called. People are like,
Yeah.
but and then now those moments it was like, okay, well, like we need to talk beyond ceasefire. Like what, like this really, Gaza is being destroyed. There's like literally no medical system, or
Yeah.
there's no functioning medical system. You know, there's obviously like doctors and some things, but like the fact that like there's no fully functioning hospitals, it's like that, and that the occupation of people in like their own land and like their own has been happening for 70 years, and the Israel has attempted to ethnically cleanse Palestinians at least two other times before this, and each time it's more and more escalated, you
Yeah.
know. And so it's like there's beyond this, it definitely needs to be talked about beyond a ceasefire. But then recently I have felt like, wow, there really is no call for a ceasefire. We kind of are moving back now to be like, we need a permanent and immediate ceasefire from like no two-state solution. You know what I mean? Like we're going, it's like, wow, we have to like backtrack because this, the most urgent thing, the most urgent and important thing that nothing else can happen until there is a permanent and immediate ceasefire is not happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I mean by like, I don't work from like a place of hope. Like I don't think I do I think like Biden's gonna like change his mind tomorrow morning? No, but like
Yeah.
I do believe in like the power of people, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and like people coming together and like changing things that has happened before, and it doesn't happen through like one. It doesn't just happen by protesting on a bridge. It doesn't just happen by confronting electeds in a way that actually makes them miserable. Like there's so many, like there was a thing a few weeks ago where artists here uh like altered their own artwork in a museum, like
Mm-hmm.
spray paint type stuff, because the museum was censoring them from creating and sharing Palestinian free Palestine work, like Palestinian liberation work. And like
Mm-hmm.
to me, that was one of the most moving things I had seen. I was like, wow, I am watching these artists like change their artwork in this museum that is censoring them. The museum, I'm pretty sure, is like still closed down. It's totally like retaliating against the artists, which I should. Yeah, there you go. To support these artists, they're all tagged on here. So
Mm-hmm.
follow them. They're giving a lot of updates about what's happening for them. But Yerba Buena Center for the Arts is a museum in San Francisco, and they are definitely being retaliated against, and it's affecting people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I mean. There's
Yeah.
so many different ways. It's like if you have a platform, use it. That is like the best way. To me, this is like that is a completely different platform than like I have or Devin has or this stream has.
Right.
That is like a different kind of platform, right? Than like a worker somewhere that has information, like but like it's like whatever you have, like utilize that right now, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of what you've just said about like kind of like recalibration of because I remember in November and December there was all this talk of like, oh, it seems like Israel is just trying to get in as much carnage as they can before geopolitical circumstances force their hand, ceasefire. Like, oh, a ceasefire is coming, and they're just trying to be as murderous as they can be. And now here we are, months later, with the amount of destruction of historical sites, hospitals, universities, and obviously loss of life, people being bulldozed over. It's it's worse even than maybe some of us even imagined, even though we also knew where this was headed
Like
and
what they're capable of, yeah.
Yeah.
right, and what Israel's intentions were. And I think that does provoke people to it's such a radicalizing moment, of realizing what are the avenues of power and influence that we do have, and asking politely for a ceasefire was never going to cut it. Appealing to the conscience of systems that have no conscience, uh, was never going to cut it. But things like putting our bodies in the way, uh, of getting boats loaded with munitions from leaving their ports,
Yeah.
those are things that we can do. Stopping traffic, uh, going to weapons manufacturers and dismantling them, and just saying that um, just really throwing back that curtain on how much, um, every part of the United States's business and economic interests are invested in this. Like universities, music conferences, the South by Southwest shit. Like everything is in the pocket of the fucking military industrial complex. And so at some point we do have to just like stop going to work, stop doing those things that of course keep us distracted and broken down every day. Um, and It takes a lot of work to build that momentum so that people can actually do those things, but we really have to throw everything that we have at this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that like oh my god, I smoked so much weed before this. I'm gonna smoke more weed actually.
Yeah, please, cheers.
We can actually do. It's wild that we can. Thank you, Snoop Dogg, because he was literally the person who smoked weed on Twitch first, and he didn't get banned, and that set the fucking the precedent. So thank you,
See,
Snoop
that's using
Dogg.
your influence. Yeah.
Oh, I just saw, I'm trying to follow comments, but I can't really. But I saw someone say, I don't know for sure, but I imagine airdrops are way less effective than if more trucks were able to get in. Yes, there are like literally thousands of trucks, aid trucks being blocked at the border, like sometimes feet away from people who need it.
Yeah, they're specifically the I think the airdrops were less than maybe like I forget if it was like, because they may have done more than one, but like at least the first airdrop was less than one truck load, where it's like the amount of aid that is actually needed is like hundreds of truckloads, or this is a huge population that is being starved. It's airdrops are an insane way to do this. And one thing that was really fucking wild that I learned about the protests happening that are blocking the aid was that they're actually being run by someone who has committed crimes in the United States, and we could extradite. Did he fucking murder someone? I think he like was involved in a murder. And so he's broken the law in the United States, and so we could just extradite him and get one of the organizers taken out, and the comparisons between what is happening to protesters here, not to mention what's happening, actually in the Gaza Strip, but what's happened just to compare to what's happening to protesters here for Palestine compared to people that are literally blocking aid from starving people, which is nothing. Is it just shows that I mean that those protests are sanctioned by Israel. Like this is not a state that lets you do things that they do not ideologically approve of. I mean, they take out anyone who is even mildly critical of Israel, with it of their own citizens gets arrested. Like looking at social media that is critical of the Israeli government can get you arrested, and yet these protests are allowed to continue.
Mm-hmm. They're literally singing "Kumbaya" as
Right,
they're blocking
right,
aid.
right.
It's unbelievably ghoulish. The
Yeah,
level of
Yeah, and I
propaganda.
think like the overlap of what's happening here is interesting, right? Because people will say things like, "These aren't this isn't the right way to protest" or something. It's like, what's
yeah,
the fucking right way to protest? Please tell me, because people have tried going to city council, people have tried lawsuits, people have tried just marches through town, protests on bridges, protests at airports. People have tried their cars. People have done it on foot. Like a few people have lit themselves on fire. So, like,
yeah,
if there's a right way to protest, please, what is that? Because, and please try it out, because like nothing is working at this point. And I want to say, when I say nothing's working, I'm like, there has been no ceasefire, right? There has been
Mm-hmm.
no
right.
end to U.S. aid to Israel, U.S. military aid to Israel. Like the demands have not been met,
Yeah.
but there you can like see by the amount of like repression.
Oh, I think
Oh,
your
yeah.
headphones died. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, you can probably switch to your device sound. Okay.
Thank you so much, Gav. Definitely. Oh, I never showed that. Definitely, please. Not that one.
Oh yeah, while Jersey's getting sound
Go
attached,
to
let's just
go to
emphasize
our credits. Yeah. No.
no.
Oh, there we
No,
go. Yeah.
please, yeah, if you can at all, please throw some money Jersey's way. I think
Yeah.
still
He was saying you can't.
looking at
Can you hear us now, or
okay.
it's still no? You can hear us. Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
You
we can.
might be able to. Can you change your mic? I wonder if I can. Cause
Oh, okay. Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Okay.
You take your time.
Yeah.
Um.
Well, we can vamp while you get set up. Everybody, while Jersey's getting set up, please, if you can at all, throw him some money, because again, this is like his full-time job is doing this work, and also he's having to worry about a legal case. And we'll get into some of the things that you can do to be supportive in that regard in a little bit too. But and there's also his socials to kind of continue following the awesome work that he and other
Yeah.
organizers out of the Bay are doing.
Still can't hear you. You could try leaving, and we can't hear you. You could try leaving and coming back if nothing else works.
I'll just look at the chat while that's going on. Medkip said, "Yeah, the PSL protests in my area have literally marched under bridges where no one even is. What the fuck is the disruption?" Um, and Gavin said, "There's a bigger than usual protest here in Boston, then it ended up being run by the PSL. Just yeah,
Oops.
for socialism and liberation. They suck ass. They are a cult that worships like white American socialists and really captures a lot of the labor of younger, more diverse socialists."
No, still
Some
can't hear you.
yeah, dang. Hmm. There should be. Is there a way to change your like what your input is? Wait, I maybe
Oh
hear
yeah,
something.
it looks like
Now
I
you hear
can.
me?
Now we
Yes,
can
we
hear
got you.
you.
Yay!
Yes. Okay. Ah, yes. Thank you for sticking with us.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Also, yes, like I definitely am broke as fuck, and I just got evicted and stuff. But also,
Oh Lord.
um, also, I'm not. I'm like safe and okay, and uh, there are people on my page who are in Gaza right now who really need money. So you can like go to my page and you'll see their reels, and the GoFundMe should pop up.
Yes. That's another thing that just like let me see if I can pull one of them up. Just talking about the
That's one
like
right at the top.
okay, right at the top. Right
That
here?
guy with the kid. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm at Elbow G. Let's see if we have his link.
I don't know if he put the link in there, but
Yeah. Presumably, if we go to his page,
it's
probably.
definitely on his page. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And I'll put that in. Here we go. Here's his GoFundMe, and I'll put that in the chat as well.
Thanks.
There's also some in my stories right now of a family of 9 that's trying to get out of the Gaza Strip. And it's so sad again that like the moving goalpost. Oops, sorry, let me get the actual GoFundMe link. That we're forced to like get into this moving goalpost of like asking for a ceasefire, and then now just because obviously Israel does want people to leave,
Yeah.
and force people out, and so it sucks to like have to play into that in a certain way by like just to save people's lives, having to
Yeah.
we have to help them evacuate, obviously, and like need them to be taken as refugees into many other countries. But that just furthers the cultural genocide.
I think like part of that is like the tone we take on when we're saying it, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's, are we like singing, like sounding relatively, I don't know. Like, could there be a misinterpretation or actual like joy there when we're asking for a ceasefire? Or are we like saying it like with our voices and our language in a way that is like demanding? And I think that's something like, especially one like from the beginning, but at this point is like nobody's like listening to like niceties. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so like for me, it's like
It, it,
yeah,
it,
it sucks. We have to like go back to asking for, we have to go back to the ceasefire thing, but it feels a bit more to me now like it's a demand when I'm hearing it from like the greater, like just people, and like
Mhm.
I think it's always been a demand of like the movement and Palestinians, of course, but like at this point, it's like I'm hearing a tone shift, and that is like something that makes me feel like okay, it is still moving forward, and it's also moving like what I was saying before about like police repression here. It's like there's bills across states all over the country right now. There's like a federal bill to like harsher penalize protesters on bridges, protesters uh, on highways, and those are coming out now. Those the things that didn't exist, like legislation that didn't exist before October, right? And like
yeah.
when
It,
people talk about that wouldn't be happening if these things weren't having some elements of success. Like we can't just like look at it as success as like, or like it's these demands being met. It's like if they're not going to meet our demands, we have to at least see like analyze what's working, and we know it's working when they're having a reaction to it. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like
yeah.
what is
Yes.
going to continue to affect them? They don't want people on bridges. They don't want people on highways. They don't want people like in places that affect the city's economy that day, right? Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
otherwise they wouldn't be creating these harsher penalties. Otherwise they wouldn't be, I don't know, following through on charges that are completely irrational,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there is some hope to be garnered from that. Not hope in the like comfortable, everything's gonna be okay. That's like very, I think, like what a lot of white Westerners in particularly like that like comfort zone thing. But it's this sense of like steadfastness, right? Purposefulness, that we see from the resistance, the Palestinian resistance itself, right? Like when you know what your enemy is scared of, um, and what hurts it, then that can motivate you to know that you are
and you
making a dent.
and you have to know those things to be successful. So like no matter
Mhm.
what you're motivated by, it's like to me it's like just so clearly like you have to analyze these things if you want to like understand if what you're doing is working or not, right? Like I don't know, I felt like a lot of people started to talk about electoral politics after Michigan. Not
Mhm.
everybody, but a lot of people, and feeling like other things weren't working. So is this like this new shift to take? And something my partner and I have talked about a lot, and I've talked about it with friends too, is like that that showed the power of like withdrawing from electoral politics, right? That was not like the same kind of electoral organizing and campaigning that happens to get people like, you know, people to show up to the like that was like, hey, here is our power in like withdrawing our votes for you, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm committed is withdrawing a vote. Like it's, and I think that like there was all this press, like totally fucked up press afterwards that like made because the Democrats that definitely terrify them about how that was because like it was mostly Arab folks who voted that way and Arab families, you know, and what was it like 70-something% of votes? So what like a unhinged statement to make, right? Like if we were in
Mm-hmm.
October right now, October and that vote would have not happened, right? But it's like people have been moved over the months. And so, like, even something like withdrawing support, if people think of that as like electoral organizing, like to me, that there's no way something like that would have happened in October, November, December, right? But like that, there is this shift happening that in some point it like has to affect the leadership or whatever of this this country and like the world at some point because every now like it's coming in every angle, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was really this is a random like very anecdotal piece, but I thought it was good to see, although like sad how small of a thing it is, that there were a couple. I think Eric Andre showed up on the like ceasefire Twitter of calling for a ceasefire, and I believe he was actually involved in an action where they like dropped a banner over a highway. Which was great to see in particular because he had actually signed the Biden letter. There was a Biden letter like within that first week or something that was like, we stand with Israel and they have the right to self-defense or something. And so it's really nice to like I mean that is like one. I mean I don't care about him in particular, but like it is nice to see that there are people, because that was one thing that was so upsetting to see, was so many people in public life coming out so strongly for Israel. And it is gratifying to see some of that opinion change, and especially in Hollywood where it seems like it is disgusting how much of a reaction, like how many people have lost fucking roles and shit for mentioning Gaza and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
So
wild.
it is nice to see those data points happening. Yeah, Hunter
Talk
Schafer's
about using a fucking platform though, like with the
right.
Oscars coming up. Can we please have like people like you know, listen to fucking celebrities, and it's like,
Right.
okay, maybe it's cool. Some of you are, I wouldn't even say cool. Okay, I don't even know what to say about it. The fact that like, you know, they went from this just complete and total support for Israel, some of them, to just like silence,
Yeah.
and it's like
Mm-hmm.
risk something. Come on, like fucking take a risk. Like
Yeah.
when it's just like seeing like
In that same
queer and
conversation, people
trans.
were talking about other celebrities, that because it was really disappointing to see people, people liked, and one of them was Mark Hamill, who like fucking came out with some, really disgusting Zionist shit, and then people were in the comments of that discussion about Eric Andre. People were like, he's actually shifted some. He may have deleted that post, and I think he's like liked stuff from like Palestinian reporters, and it's like,
It's so
okay,
tepid.
right.
Like,
It's
come
like
on, dude, go further, do a little more. You know, like
like
great. Like
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah. Like
If
you're
you
he is
What
so privileged and can't do even the bare minimum
exactly.
when clearly his mind has been changed, and it's like you had all this
how could you
energy
not be
for it,
horrified?
right?
Like
Into
that you were that
And
action,
when you
wrong.
like
right?
the amount of like queer and trans and black and indigenous and very specifically Palestinian and Arab folk who are
Right.
like putting it on the line, like so many people like living in poverty or like not able to make a lot of ends meet all the time, you know, or like it's like it's like, frustrating to
Yeah.
see people do the bare minimum when they have the ability and capacity to do so much more, but they fear something like losing a contract or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, for some people, I don't know, losing something still isn't going to put them with very little,
Yep.
Mhm.
And I'm seeing people like lose things that already had very, very little. And yeah, it's like, come on, people. And
Do
at the same
something.
time, a lot of people are doing a lot of things, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah, I think if you sorry, go ahead, Maddie.
I was just gonna say, I never get both of my cats on my desk at the same time when I do this show, and so
They're
they're
really interested in the conversation.
yeah, they're showing
Yeah,
up for Palestinian rights.
and they're not fucking anything up on the
They're not.
stream
Look at
either, so that's
Cooper.
that's not
Literally
any
never
plus.
is this sweet. Charlie never fucking is this chill, especially when Cooper is up there. She's usually like attacking him. They're showing up.
Mm, yeah. Um, let's see. There was something in the chat that I wanted to put. Um, Quarian said, This is why I still do a lot of conscience work because I want to throw lifelines to as many people as I can, pull as many people as I can out of default Zionism." Um, and that comment just makes me think about how like there are a lot of positions that each of us have potentially on the pipeline. A lot of like stages of this work, even though it also is like it's very frustrating to like grapple with people who are still very like, oh, this is too complicated, I can't take a side, or like, oh, who are still really heavily propagandized and pro Israel. Like there's like there are positions for people in various points of bringing people along the pipeline
Hmm.
Yeah.
and deprogramming people from that kind of cultish mentality when it
I
comes to
agree.
just like with like when it comes to just like average everyday people. And I think it is true that connects back to what you were saying about like the people withdrawing their votes. Like we are seeing a moment of a lot of people getting radicalized and a lot of people, just average everyday people, seeing how broken the system is. And there is something so powerful in a vote of no confidence in the government. This has already been a thing in our political system. Most people don't vote, and it's not because they're lazy or apathetic and they deserve to suffer and all this bullshit that we've been like taught to believe. Most people don't vote because they recognize accurately that the system does not reflect their interests in any way, that there's no option for them that reflects them and where they're at. And
Scientifically, I
when
mean, there's a lot of data to show that the Americans' beliefs do not affect political positions. There's been a
Mhm.
lot of hard data that shows it. There's no there's no relation.
Right. So there is a lot of power in more and more people, I think, being aware of that and saying, I am not going to be complicit in this system. I am not going to sign off on the legitimacy of these politicians and this settler colonial state that commits these atrocities. And I think that does have the power to get politicians appropriately very scared, because if 90% of us aren't voting, and if 90% of us don't recognize the legitimacy of this government, what the fuck are we going to do? You
Yeah,
know?
it's like the first time I'm like, yeah, vote, vote uncommitted,
Yeah.
vote uncommitted. If that's in your state, go do that. Yeah, tell them you're not voting for them. Like,
Mhm.
you gotta vote to tell them you're not gonna vote for them. It's just so fucking weird.
It was so wild seeing the reaction to that of calling people literal terrorists, which is just such a disgusting word to use, like in general, but because of the way it's been used. But it's like if this is not the thing you want people to do, you don't you just don't believe that there is a way to change uh to change opinion. You don't have any avenue for changing, for affecting change. If this literal, like, so small of a gesture to vote not uncommitted is terrorism to you.
Well, that tells you how invested people are in the United States as a settler colonial empire, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you are terrified, if you view anyone opposing what the United States is and what it does as terrorism, like, that gives the game away right there, right? Like, that's where the battle lines actually really get drawn. Or, like, are you pro America existing
Yeah.
and having the power that it has, or are you actually saying, no, like, look at the legacies of all the things this country has done and continued to do. This country shouldn't exist. Like,
Yeah.
Israel shouldn't exist and America shouldn't exist either. Like, and let's actually, again, be willing to incur the costs that come with dismantling that.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not gonna last so much longer, but something I feel like you brought up a couple times about talking about was like burnout with
Mhm,
stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like I can talk about that and probably a couple other things. But
mhm.
yeah, does that sound good?
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds
absolutely.
great. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we
Okay.
can talk about burnout a little bit. I do wanna amplify the actions for the Bay Bridge 78 also, but we can also do that
Oh
after
yeah,
you tap out too. But yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Um, I okay. What do you usually ask me? How do you avoid burnout or something?
Yeah, yeah, you had a lot of good stuff, to share that I already put in this article about, just, like, how you balance your needs as, like, an autistic person,
Oh yeah.
with organizing. Um, let me just I can delve into some of that, and just, yeah, how you avoid burnout, because I think there is a lot of, like, organizing that is typically it's built for neurotypicals. It's a lot of socializing. It's a lot of meetings without agendas, which are very unpredictable. It's a lot of emotional processing in public that can be draining. Like,
A
what
lot of waiting. A lot of waiting.
a lot of waiting, and yeah, a lot of being in waiting mode. Waiting for ambiguous information, and so yeah, so it's not the most accessible thing to be doing. So what has helped for you? What has helped keep burnout at bay
And
to an
this is
extent?
this
Okay,
just
like
for, if any, in case anybody doesn't know, this is a article that Devin has on his subspace.
Substack. That's that's another website that I'm also on.
Substack. His Substack. I'd love to see me a Substack. Anyway,
A stack of subs.
Oh,
um
that's so funny.
fucking Freudian slip. But yeah, this is an article, what is it called? Autistic tips for political
Organizing.
organizing,
Yeah.
and it's on Devin's Substack, where he interviewed or had some tips from a couple people, including Jersey, just so people know
Yeah.
what
I
we're
just went
referencing.
on a rant in Devin's messages as well.
Good.
It was
Devin
super
asked one of
helpful.
those questions you can only put like half a sentence to, and I was like, this isn't gonna fit here.
And it was so helpful. Like, some of the
I
stuff you
had no
said,
idea it would be. I honestly had no
oh,
idea.
I've gotten such a good response to from people reading it, and so like some of the things that you said were things like, find your kind of niche, what skills you have to offer to the cause, prove to organizers that you can operate relatively independently, whether that's getting in, like, a medic group chat or being somebody who's doing photography. Like, those are some of the things that you mentioned. There's a lot of other stuff that you
Yeah,
talked
yeah.
about.
I feel like you mentioned a lot of the stuff. Like, I feel like I also didn't really completely understand like what I could best offer because none of us have been through something like this, right? Like this is different than any other kind of activism or organizing or like, you know, work
Mhm.
like work to end oppression than any of us have ever done, right? Like we're literally living through a genocide. And I actually had like pretty bad I always forget this word, imposter syndrome. Like I didn't think I should I didn't think I had like the skills to take video or pictures of things. I didn't think I was like good enough at that. So I had like kind of a background in not like direct medicine with people, but more like research in medicine. So I have like all the skills you need to be a medic, and I've also done like trainings for organizing with medics. So that just being this like very clear thing, that's like what I was offering in the very big, like in October, right? And when I would be places, I would just take some videos, and later I would notice there wasn't that much footage from things, like at all. I would be like seeking things out, and it was like not all over social media. And I started posting things, and people in locally would, you know, like be like, oh my God, I'm so glad you captured that. And I started realizing like that was a hole, and that was where my skills were best used. And I just needed to like, let me say like the most cis man thing ever. I had to like grow a pair. I'm
You had
not
to
a cis
man
man.
up.
I'm not a
You had
cis
to,
man. I'm pretending to be.
you had to lean in.
You have to, though.
I'm not a cis man. I'm just pretending to be.
We all
You had
have
to
to
girl boss.
pretend.
Yeah.
We all have to pretend
get over that feeling of like I'm not good at this, and be like, this is what is needed. I'm good enough at it, and I actually like, you know, I studied journal. I was like, I've been like doing types of journalism since I was a teenager, and like newspapers and stuff. And I was like, this is something I actually like have a lot of experience in. I just haven't been thinking of it like through this particular lens. So it took me a second to like really understand the best way to insert myself in a way that would be helpful to other people. And it is like if you're gonna insert yourself with something like videos and stuff, just make sure you're like getting as much consent as possible, and not even if somebody accidentally puts their hands near a cop, like they're falling over and their hand brushes a cop, like just think about like the security of people, and
Yeah.
like also what like turns the message is really important, and like who is being centered. So if you are like a social media online person, or you want to like, you just have like an interest in doing that, just really like, I would model it after what you are seeing from Palestinian creators locally, and including like groups, right? Like I definitely look to like A-Rock and PYM for like, this is the kind of message they want spread, or like, which is really important, I think. So if you're going to tap into something like that. And then it is a really like independent thing. Like you can tap in and make sure you're on message with everybody, and make sure it's like, again, I don't know how much to share. People ask me all the time, like, how do you get involved in things? And I'm saying the same thing I have since like October. Like one of the ways is like, you go to the bigger things, you build trust, you get invited to things. But also I think people just need to kind of start organizing on their own.
Yeah.
Like think about your skills and like the people around you, and who has like experience in what, and again making sure you're like tapped into the broader movement, and like what you're doing is in line with the goals and the messaging. But you don't have to be part of like a massive group to do things right now, right? And I think as long as it is being, I heard somebody say like, I don't care who it is, like if like a Palestinian said that, like friend that said that, I don't care who it is, like if people are willing to risk things, like putting themselves on the line, risk it. Like if that is like, you are willing to put your body on the line, you are willing to put things on the line, do it. And then when I say that, that's also coming from like, do it with thought, like if you can. Sometimes you can't avoid things like arrest, right? But like do it with intention. Like how will the movement gain something from this? Like, do you have support to get you out of jail? Like, are all these things in place? And that's why like working with other people, whether it's a large group or a small group, and people that know what needs to be in place, is there. Like do what you're doing with like intention and in line with everybody else. But I think people should just like tap into their skills at this point, find people to work with, and just start doing the work. and I do reach burnout, but I am not letting myself like hit the point of burnout where I don't recover.
Yeah.
And probably part of that is because I don't I don't want to be like taken out of this, like this feels like I need to sustain myself. So a lot of times, let's say like two chaotic things happen in a week, I might like take the weekend, and it's like I don't care, and I'm not usually, like I said in that thing earlier in that post that you read, Devin, like I don't have to commit to every single thing. And sometimes for me that means not committing to the larger things. If I know like 10 to 15,000 people are going to show up to something, I'm like, I can save my capacity because I'm one of 10 people who's going to show up to this other thing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, so that's kind of how I balance that. And I definitely go through days at a time where I'm like, I'm not doing anything, or I can only contribute to this bigger thing in this one particular way. I can't give all of myself because then I can't do anything else. I don't do
Yeah.
a lot of meetings still. That's something I just don't really do unless I have to, but I do connect like with people we might meet one on one, or like somebody might come over to chat in person, right? And give me like a debrief on the meeting. There are people complete opposite to me, autistic people who are like taking notes at everything, have all the, and honestly, they've been like my best allies because
Yeah.
they're like, I know this doesn't work for you. Like, I've kept all this information for you, or like this and this is happening in the legal chat. Are you paying attention? And I'm like, I can't read that whole document. And they're like, here's a summary. So we're like
God
working
bless.
together. Yeah, I have like a couple people doing that for me on like the legal chat, and it really does feel like a lot of neurodivergent, not just autistic people doing it that just kind of have complementary skills. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll be at 6 things this week. And they were like, I will give you all the information and notes from this one thing because I am working on something that's happening in a month from now. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we take on different strategies. I'm like, no, know what's gonna like cause you burnout is the big thing. If you don't know what's gonna cause you burnout, you're gonna get burnt out.
Yeah.
Mhm. And you do have to have your own discernment about that stuff because there's gonna be so many things going on and requests for your time and attention that, like, you have to set those your own boundaries on it and know, like again, it comes back to that trust of, like, somebody else is gonna pick up this slack, we're all getting in to our own
Yeah,
position.
yeah.
Um, Another thing that you shared was in that is quoted in this article is there's a lot of ways to participate that are not necessarily verbal social things. So it can be things like coming together to make a ton of posters or banners or doing that at
Oh
home,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There are kind of care bear positions where you're the person handing out water or snacks, and there's a little bit less of a risk of arrest. And sometimes that fits your risk profile. And then sometimes you're the person who is like on the line, face to face with the cops. And maybe that's actually a great time if you're somebody who does not have facial emotions. Maybe you're a great asset to the cause because you're not going to escalate anything because you're going to be dissociating. And
I'm
you're
kind of
so
like
I,
I'm
you
like this, but I'm also kind of expressionless. Yeah.
yeah yeah and maybe you're so unemotive that it actually creeps people out and it has a chilling effect, and that's actually for once your creepiness is a superpower. It's useful. Like it comes down to your own, and then there's the empaths who can do the de-escalation shit, and God bless
Right.
them too. Like
Oh my God. Yeah.
it's
Not
yeah,
me.
I that the marshals and people who have to do like the
Same. No.
police liaisons and stuff. Oh my God, like it's that's a very particular skill set too,
Mhm.
that different people get plugged into, and it's not about better or worse or who's more committed. It's about knowing yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, knowing your skills, or at least like if there's something you want to learn, like being upfront about how much experience you have in something, like just yeah, the trust thing. I guess it gets back to.
Hmm. Absolutely.
But yeah, I do
Um,
go through like a bi-weekly. Would that be every other week or twice a week?
I think it can mean
Depends who you
either.
ask.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's very stupid.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I have a bi-weekly burnout, but I think it would be I could say that either way. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does still work. It's
Every other week or every 2 weeks.
yeah. But as long as I like chill the fuck out a little, um, I'm bouncing back.
Yeah.
yeah.
What are the warning signs for you that you know you're about to that you need to pump the brakes or do something different?
Um, Honestly, I think I've been thinking of it a little more like these are the things that happen. Like this crazy thing happened yesterday. I didn't drink enough water. I didn't eat enough food. I didn't go to bed till 3 in the morning because it was like so chaotic. And by the time I got home, I just like couldn't sleep. I'm like, ooh, okay. I probably shouldn't go anywhere tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
also have this which Devin, like this very clear burnout sign, which is I have seizures and epilepsy, and so if I feel like I'm having like pre-seizure experiences, that a lot of the time like relates back to burnout for me because it could come from the same thing, right? Like not drinking enough water, not sleeping enough, like all the same kind of triggers. So when I notice that, I'm like, oh, I'm hitting a point of burnout. Like, um, I can't get, I don't want to let myself get to the point where I'm having such bad seizures I'm like pulled out of this. I can't control that I like have them still sometimes, but it's like there's a stopping point for me that's like I'm fucked after this. So I've been
Mm-hmm.
trying to like balance that. So it's like even though it's like a really shitty thing to have, it's a little bit like I do wonder if I would like push myself too far if that didn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that way about a lot of my like pathological demand avoidance stuff. Like if I feel like I'm about to just like in some ways it is this good defiant thing about disability that it makes you really say like this is not sustainable. This is fucked up. Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
what's being asked of me at work is too much or like I'm going to lose my about to go psycho mode and like and like there's that book, that Mad Pride book that just came out that's like how to go mad without losing your mind. That's a very like I think it's kind of like an Afro pessimist kind of mad studies book, and like there's power in that, like in the unruly disabled body and mind, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely experienced that too. The like pathological demand of like yeah, and I feel like I learned from you, Devin, that like how that relates to burnout. I don't think I quite understood that before, but I feel like I was going through that big time with like right before, like months before getting evicted, but like knowing it was coming and things just there was too much for me to hold, and so it's
Mhm.
just like can't do any of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that not actually being a pathology, it's just a sign of like this is not something a person can hold. This means that you
Yeah.
like if you
Right.
can't do it, it means you can't do it. That's how disability fucking works.
Yeah.
And yet we still question ourselves
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
that time. Um Quarian in the chat, just because people were kind of talking about finding their different roles and like kind of Care Bear type positions. Quarian said that's going to be my next go prompt. I'm going to order a bunch of extra masks and just let that be my purpose at organized events,
Yeah.
handing out masks. Fuck yeah.
Oh yeah, and there's people like honestly at the Bay Bridge, like we do a lot of rallies and court support. Like it's amazing, like how many people show up. And outside, people bring breakfast. There's always like mass crews. Um, we usually have congee for breakfast, and it's open to everybody there and everybody who walks by. So like sometimes just people in San Francisco who are hungry are walking by and grabbing food.
That's
And
awesome.
there's like so many different roles. I mean, the other day, um, my partner and I had a bunch of meals dropped off from like a mutual aid meal train because like that like prioritizes, you know, it can be anybody who's experiencing burnout from work, but like or from this type of I don't want to call it work, this type of like action type that stuff, but they like prioritize people on the like front lines so you can continue.
Mhm.
Like you don't have to be at the point where like you're like I can't make a meal, like I'm completely fucked from everything. But it's like just
Right.
they'll bring you meals every Sunday, like frozen meals that are homemade and fucking good that you can eat right then. You can freeze for the week because then you have more time to contribute to the front lines. So there's like things. I mean, like to me, I'm like, dude, if somebody loves cooking, can tap into ways to have like resources for the food for that, I'm like, that's an
Mhm.
amazing way to contribute. Like I have a friend who watches my dog, and sometimes my partner watches my dog. Like my dog can't be alone. He's 14, also has bad epilepsy. He needs like a person around. People coming over here who like can't be there in person for different reasons, whatever it is, whatever the reason is, like allows me to go. Um, there's just like so many ways. It doesn't all like have to look the same.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Childcare, giving people rides, car
Yeah.
caravans. That's a big thing that a lot of that USPCN has done a lot here, of like protests that are cars blocking the highway, because that's just way more accessible to a lot of people. Um, Giving people rides to the bathroom at the action. Like there's so many different things. There's even like at one spot that like protesters hit a lot here, there's like a falafel shop where the owner is pro-Palestinian, and so like people get food, people get the bathroom, like
That's
it's
great.
just, you know, he's just doing people a solid. So um so should we talk about getting the charges dropped for the Bay Bridge 78 before you tap out?
Yes,
Is that,
we have
yeah,
court I think next week. It's what's today's date? The 7th or 8th or something.
it's the 8th today.
Yes, we have court next week. So if there's like a list of ways to take action, but if you are in the Bay Area, just do these things, but most importantly, come to court because the court is like packed. I mean, like it is. There's hundreds of people often, and it's just like nothing I've ever seen in a courtroom. And like I said, I believe in like the power of people. And we're in
Yeah.
this situation right now where 78 of us are facing 5 charges each, including false imprisonment.
So
And again,
fucked
this
up.
is for protesting against the genocide, and this is back in November.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we have only seen the genocide be escalated. It's getting more and more escalated every day. Like I said earlier, there have been, at that time on November, I think maybe it was November 6th when this protest was. Um, I think it was about 14,000 people had been murdered in Gaza, and now we are at over 40,000.
Yeah. And
Um,
we don't know the real numbers because the medical system is completely collapsed, and so there's not actually any good way to record deaths anymore. So all of the deaths that we like that are being reported are like wildly under what I'm sure the real values are.
Mhm.
yeah, there are no fully functioning hospitals. There's not like there's not like a very functioning medical system right now. So it's
Right.
definitely hard to get those numbers. But there's like a EU report that comes out that I think just yesterday or the day before placed it at over 40,000 people have been killed over with the number of people who have been killed and injured and made disabled. That's like well over 100,000. I think it said 13,000 kids have been killed. Um, yeah, and on Sunday there's supposed Israel announced there will be a full-on ground invasion of Rafah. So the violence is continuing to escalate, and here we are, like 6 months later, after the bridge was shut down. Um, And the charges have still not been dropped, despite the majority of San Francisco and the Bay Area supporting a permanent ceasefire.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah,
5 charges each, one including false misdemeanor, or sorry, one including false imprisonment.
Yeah.
which is just so absurd. Like they just hit these protesters like a ton of bricks with charges, like to try and have this chilling effect on people taking action.
Yeah.
But it so obviously hasn't worked, right? So like, if anything, it's brought more people together. People are really showing up for these court dates. Some of the videos you've posted of just people like singing chanting and being there in solidarity has just been so. It looks really lovely. And
Yeah,
thank
it's
God.
powerful.
Yeah. Um, so people who are not in the Bay Area, things you can do, and I posted this toolkit in the chat. You can call San Francisco DA Brooke Jenkins, and
I
for
would
that.
highly recommend. I literally have. I'm not just saying this. I do not know who runs this Twitter account, but there's a Twitter account that's very small that was started in January called Crooks Jenkins, and it's a charity account. And I just want to give that account some love because it has like helped me the last month in getting through the terrible
What is it?
situation.
Crooks Jenkins?
Instead of Brooks Jenkins, it's Crook Jenkins.
That's so funny.
I literally have no idea, and I'm not just saying that. I'm like, I have no idea if this is somebody I know.
Craig Jenkins. Let's see.
Makes a lot of like really funny AI generated memes. Tags um tags London Breed, like the mayor of San Francisco, because Brooke Jenkins and London Breed are like love the cops and stuff. Tags her and stuff like as if they're actual friends. It's getting blocked by all these like people and groups accounts calling out. It's really funny.
Oh my God. Yes. And that's important too, like raise morale and ruin these people's days and their feeds. Like Crook Jenkins. So call Crook Jenkins and tell her to fuck off and leave the Bay Bridge 78 alone. And that, ostensibly people in this country have the right to fucking protest a genocide that this country is carrying out. You can email Crook Jenkins here at this link, bit.ly/email DA Jenkins. There's a script there to use, or you can customize it a little bit on your own. Post you can share on social media. And do you know when the court date is that's coming up this coming week? Do you know what day of the week?
It's the 14th, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, the 14th.
And the organizations to endorse. Somebody actually told me the other day that if these were being put in like prioritizing order, that could be number one if you are part of an organization that it would endorse dropping the charges. There are like a lot of organizations involved, like especially locally, but everywhere, including like unions, and then like small, activist groups, like it could anything. Just like yeah, that's a big way to help.
Okay, cool. I have a friend who does some like legal kind of organizing out there in that area, so I'll ask them.
And they don't even have to be in the Bay Area. There's a lot from the Bay Area, but just showing support everywhere is great. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, maybe we can get some some Chicago DSA folks or USPCN and stuff like that. That's good to know.
Cool.
Okay, getting organizations to call. And then some of these dates are in the past, but there's been kind of ongoing organized email and phone zaps, just bringing people together to really hit the DA's office with letters and calls and things like that. But yeah, if you are in the area, that's Thursday, the 14th. Court support is a great way to make a difference. That is a lower risk in certain ways. If you can't show up to a physical on the ground protest, standing around outside in the cold, for example, you can potentially still do court support. A lot of people can. So that's really invaluable and shows a really strong presence. It looks like every court support date that you've posted about, it's been packed full, tons of people outside of the court as well.
Yeah, inside and outside. Usually, sometimes there's so many people, not everybody can get inside. Though I think this next week, like the session will probably be a little longer than they have been. So sometimes it's because of time, because the line's so long to get in. Sometimes it's like they won't allow more people, but the hallways are packed. Like it's packed outside. Yeah, people can come into the courtroom just until all the seats are full. So that's usually safe for people facing charges, and like extra seats are for like loved ones of us. But we can hear you when we're in the courtroom. We can hear everybody chanting in the hallways. Like the people have to talk loud because of it happening. It's pretty wild. Like the
that's
person
amazing.
That's like recording the whole time will be like going like shh, because like she can't hear, and she, it's just like a reaction, and then she's like, oh, that's outside.
Yes, fucking with the stenographer even.
I was saying that one of us should do like, because you can't bring cameras in, we should like draw. How people
Yeah.
Yes, courtroom illustrator. Yes.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, any visual artists in the Bay Area that want to come do
Courtroom
That's a good
illustrations?
idea.
Hell
I'm gonna
yeah.
ask people what they think of that. That's not a bad idea.
Oh, I don't know if there
know
if there are any illustrators in the Bay Area. I wonder if there's a shortage.
We'll save you a seat,
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit people up about that.
That's great.
That would be badass.
I would love to see those.
Yeah.
Right?
That would be sick. Is there anything else that you want to speak to or highlight or like amplify that would be helpful?
I'm tired, but also, yeah, I feel like with court coming up next week, that's a big thing. And again, I'm so confused about what I can say and not say. But
yeah,
people, like I said, people are always asking me like how to get involved, and so events that are public will be like on public pages. And I'm just having a hard time siphoning through which those are right now. But if you go to groups, I'm part of the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network. I also just function as an individual, but the Instagram for that is International Jewish it's just a Jewish Anti-Zionist Network. So if you go there, public events are posted there, but we, work in collaboration with AROC and PYM, JVP, like lots of other groups. So I would suggest finding out about public events through groups, and yeah, come fuck up the court. There we are. This Instagram just started in like November or something. But yeah, it's like a international anti-Zionist group of Jews. There's a branch in like Spain, I think in Argentina. Yeah, been around a long time, and I think it was like established here in the Bay. But yeah,
sick.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for coming.
Yes, good. You need it.
I don't have more to say. Just I'm very stoned, and yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your work and for also reminding us that like even as we're talking about this, it's about Palestinians, it's about the work Palestinians are doing, and just keeping that centered and doing what we can to keep focused on that cause.
I guess that's where I should end, is that we should always bring the conversation back to Palestine and the like horrors that are happening in Gaza and the horrors caused by the Israeli government, and the fact that the U.S. is not just complicit, but like aiding and abetting in those horrors. And over 40,000 people have been killed, and there are people living in tents if they can secure tents.
Yeah.
There are people starving. There are children starving. There are disabled people being targeted. And do whatever you can as an individual that is part of a larger cause to, end the genocide.
Yeah.
Thank you
so much. Don't let things like hopelessness bring you down.
Yeah.
If that starts happening, just work from a place of anger.
That's
whatever can fuel you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So much love.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
This is I probably won't do this again unless it's with you both. So I've had mutuals asking me to do this, and I'm like, no, I don't. It's so confusing to know what to say and not to say, and like I don't want to be centered, and just lots of reasons. But this is a lot chiller being like the two of you, and Devin definitely have an understanding of like how my autism works.
Yes. we both have the chaotic goblin autism a little bit, so
Yeah, you are welcome anytime to talk about whatever you want. So please, thank you so much for coming on. It was absolutely lovely.
Yeah,
Yes.
thanks for having me. Bye.
All right,
Bye.
bye now.
Bye. Yeah. So everyone, one last push to please throw Jersey some coins. I'm gonna do.
Oops,
As
sorry,
you
cut
already
out
heard.
cut out for a second,
Oh,
but you should be good now.
okay. Throw Jersey some coins if you can. I'm about to
Yeah.
on his Venmo. As you already heard, he's had to deal with eviction during this and legal fees and all kinds of stuff. I know there's a lot of places for us to put our money right now, and it is really important to get Palestinians who are trying to seek refuge out of Gaza, throwing them money as well. So of course, what your position, you know what you're capable of, but just wanted to.
We are really bad at putting links in the description for the VOD, but I'm going to do it this time.
I am.
Well,
I just rip it and post it, and then...
either of us could. But I'm gonna say that we're gonna put them in the description, and if they're not there, please yell at us to make sure they're there, because they should be in there, especially for this one. So
yes. And there was so much good stuff in the chat too. That we
maybe we can get to some of them now. Thank you everybody so much for being part of that discussion.
This has been Quarian said, I know Devin has written about it, but I still feel so hard to take even baby steps. I've only just learned to make my nervous system okay with private time theft during work hours this year. Been thinking a lot about autism. Masking makes me much more manipulable, weak, and obedient. I wish I was more in touch with that unruly disobedience. For now, I'm most useful in empath/Care Bear mode.
Yeah, it is really hard, and it is it's really good to be doing that work for lots of reasons, but for this too.
And those are a valuable skill set. Like, don't beat yourself up too much for being, where you're at. Like, I've talked a lot too about how masking can be used for evil, quote unquote, by which I mean good, disruption.
Yeah.
And so you can use the instincts of fawning in a way where the goal isn't actually negating your own values, but it's manipulating people to enact your values. So
right.
So do we want to switch to talking about Aaron Bush now?
Yeah.
Or do we want to take a little? Okay.
Or I do have a very dumb thing. Should I do it?
Let's do it. Let's do a palate cleanse real quick. Yeah.
Okay. So this is like something that I don't even think I would normally bring to the show, because it's not. I don't know. It's like, it's not really a piss chorus. There's nothing really to talk about here. It's just stupid. But I was collecting bookmarks, and then when we decided on what the show was going to be today, I was like, well, maybe we do want to talk about it. Not because we should, just because it's so fucking stupid. So most of you already probably know some aspects of this. I'm looking through my bookmarks. But this is have y'all heard about the Glasgow Willy Wonka experience? Because this is the perfect thing that is happening on the internet, and we're just gonna talk about it because it's fucking stupid.
The thing about it for me is it really doesn't feel that fundamentally different from most of those like Wonder Museum.
Yeah, it's just like slightly worse.
Yeah, it's just more transparently like a thing designed to just take Instagram photos that's overpriced.
Yeah. So the wild story is that makes this interesting is that it was all done with AI. So let me see if I can find. Yeah, these are some of the images that they just fucking hung up some AI bullshit.
It's so bad. It's so
Uh,
small and shitty.
yeah, this is an image that went really viral. I mean, she's like half blinking, which part of it, but she's just apparently everybody got like one jelly bean and a like quarter, like a shot of lemonade.
That's so busted and
And so
cheap.
the reason it was so fucked up, I'm trying to see if they're uh who knows what are in these bookmarks, so ignore anything that's not relevant. Um yeah, I can't find maybe I didn't bookmark cuz the fucking website was the most hilarious like AI garbage. It was just like those images that are it was like completely unrelated. And so but not only did this guy advertise using AI, the whole thing he just created using AI, and the script was written by AI. So so here's some of the script, which is incredible. uh Audience members engage with the interactive flowers, offering compliments to which the flowers respond with pre-recorded whimsical thank yous. Wonkadoodle. It was also not actually Willy Wonka. It was actually Willie McDuff's Candy Adventure or whatever. And they
The
weren't
non-copyright.
they weren't Oompa Loompas. They were Wonkadoodles. um. Oh, and if you Wonkadoodle 1 2 guess. Oh, if you see a butterfly, whisper your sweetest dream to it. They are our official secret keepers and dream carriers of the garden. Willie McDuff gathering everyone's attention. Now I must ask, does anyone see the elusive bubble bloom? It's a rare flower that blooms just once every blue moon and fills the air with shimmering bubbles. Uh okay, Wonkadoodle, pretend to catch bubble. Quick, each bubble holds a whisper of enchantment. Catch one and make a witch. This is my favorite part. As the bubble catching frenzy continues. Yeah, so he opens his hand and the bubble gently pops, releasing a small twinkling light that ascends into the rafters, leaving the audience in awe, which is just like because this AI doesn't have any conception of what's possible, and so it's just like
Right.
no like tether to reality. Um, and so this is what the actors were given. Like I've seen conflicting reports, but it sounds like the guy that actually was there did this stuff wasn't even on the ground. Like he just like gave them a really tiny budget and this awful script and was like, "All right, good luck."
Yeah,
Uh,
this impossible thing. And I love that it's written to the stage directions that everybody's in awe
yeah, like
of the
there
fact
are
that there's bubbles.
yeah, there's stage directions for the audience. Let me see if I can find the other one of the uh yeah,
This
I
is
don't
like
see it immediately, but
this
um
is like DashCon level
oh yeah,
vibe.
absolutely. Absolutely.
It
Uh
meets the ball pit.
um yeah, like so some of the weird things that I did because I tried to find all this stuff. There was the unknown. Wait, let me find the clip of the actual unknown in yeah, this is the unknown, which was that this the AI apparently thought that the Willy Wonka experience needed a villain. And so there's the unknown, which is an evil chocolate maker that lives in the walls.
Oh, okay.
Somebody pointed out that there were kids asking, "Is this an evil man that makes? Or is this an evil creature that makes chocolate, or is this a chocolate maker that makes evil chocolate?" Which is something that was unclear. Was there like a video? I know I found like yeah, this was the video of the unknown.
Oh my god, yes. Oh, the kid's crying. You can hear like this is
what I love was I
that's so
found out
scary.
that this was actually a 16-year-old girl that was playing this role, which is amazing. Yeah.
I'm wondering what it was like for me as the unknown in the Willy's chocolate experience. So here is a few little things. So as most of you guys know, I am 16 and it was my first ever paid acting job. And I was quite nervous, but the actors were so lovely, and they took me right under their wing. So on the day of
Everybody
the actual
trauma
event,
bonded.
we just got told to patch the script and just improvise it. And the only direction that I got given was to act creepy. So I tried to imagine what a man living in the wall should be like. So
What
this is
living in
footage
the
that pretty much everybody has seen. Some people loved it, some people hated it, some people were left traumatized, some people had no clue what was going on, including myself. Hi, it's me again. I know a lot of
I
people.
did feel bad. The fucking McElroys talked about this on Mabim Bam, and they were like, the wig that the unknown had was so fucked up. And this is, I guess she doesn't. She says it in a different video. I saw that that's just her real hair, and people were making fun of her for her. And it was like, oh come
Oh
on, guys.
no.
I know you wouldn't know that, but come on.
Let's be careful here. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. So apparently as backstory, yeah, here's this wonderful cast member. We don't need to get into it. Willie McDuff, who was Willy Wonka, apparently got milkshake ducked because he fucking groomed somebody and dated someone who was his acting student when she was 15, and they dated for like 5 years, which is insane. So just because this thing needed to have more fucking insane evil twists to it.
I mean, can we just talk about the anti-blackness of having the one black actor play the evil chocolate person?
Oh
people making
man, I
fun of
never
their
even
hair?
thought about that. Oh, that sucks
Yeah.
ass. That sucks really bad.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's layers to this, Your Honor.
There are layers to this, Your Honor. Yeah, people did get their money back. It was $35.
Oh my god, what a sham. $35. $70 to bring you and one of your children. That's crazy.
Yeah. Damn, I don't see. Let me Google search for it, because the wild thing that was like, oh, that makes sense, is this fucking guy that did this is an author, and his books are all fucking written by AI. So this is just completely one of those fucking like, well, we're gonna like, we're gonna, oh, AI just means I can fucking like make anything I want. Yeah, I should show the website. Let me see if I can find that.
Yeah, this really just reveals the like AI guy type of mindset towards art, right? Like,
Yes.
oh, it's just this thing you don't have to put any effort or money into, and it just prints profit for you.
Oh my god, it's still up. I didn't think there was any way it would still be up.
Oh my god, indulge in a chocolate fantasy like never before. Capture the enchantment.
This is
Oh.
what it was supposed to look like.
I mean, there's some red flags. Not
Yeah.
gonna blame the victim here, but in the future, don't give $35 to something
Yeah, like look
that
at
has
this.
no pictures.
And all the pictures, like, it's wild. Why when they were making these AI images, why would you have it put text on it? Because AI images image generators famously cannot put text in things correctly. And so you get this shit that's like Twilight Tunnel has lighting, dim tight, coordinating, diffractions, dodjections,
and pretty.
like untrivial, unexpected twits.
I guess people could have thought that was just like magical fairy world made up language, like how they make up words in like Wicked. But
it really does show how cooked we are, that people like saw this and were like, yeah, I'll give that for $35. Like,
yeah. The kids will love it. and churning. Wow, cacacating. Oh my god, this is so bad.
I can't.
Even the
I assumed this wouldn't be up. Like, how is this still up?
Yeah, this has already been so scrubbed for any lawsuits that are gonna happen.
Catchy
Like,
tons. I guess that's a good point. You really can't. I mean, they do have the actual text, which seems wild, but you can't get sued for promising a paradise of sweet teats. Like,
yeah, what is that?
oh,
Oh my God.
I can't believe this is still up. I definitely just assumed it would not be. So this is what they were
Yeah.
promised, and that was what they got. Oh man.
Oh. Eh, but like, yeah, so like these like overly expensive Instagrammable experience fake museum things have already become such a trend in the last like 5 years, 5, 10 years anyway.
Yeah.
So like
Even the
there
good ones suck ass.
right. Even the good ones suck ass. They're all like, even if the staging is like really pretty, it's just literally like a stand and pose, and that's it. Like it's not an actual experience, you know. Maybe you get like a boozy hot chocolate from these kind of things, like, and that's it.
Yeah. This one you got a jelly bean and a
Shot of
No,
lemon.
there were facts. They were just hidden and you needed to reveal them, which is just the way these bad websites work.
Oh my God.
Oh my
What can
god.
I expect from Willie's chocolate experience? Nothing.
Oh my god.
Don't
Yeah.
expect nothing.
I like how they look like the logo looks like our Sharticle logo.
Yeah. Shart experience.
This is the Shart experience.
This is a multi sensory Shart experience.
Oh man. So let me see if I can find quickly before we end the last thing because it was wild. Um, uh, Billy Cowell. Yeah, so he's an author. And his books are on Amazon. Yeah, I guess he just has two.
Mm.
They both have very low scores. Um,
Oh, this AI art, the
yep,
like
just to
7-year-old doctor on here. What the fuck?
yeah. Um, yeah, it's bad. Um, but it's great because on Amazon you can read a sample. Okay.
Wow.
Just the titles. Um, Chapter 1, Dark Beginnings. The wind howled through the desolate streets of a long-forgotten city. In a dimly lit laboratory, Dr. Emily Reed, a brilliant but haunted scientist, toiled tirelessly over her latest experiment. She was on the verge of a groundbreaking discovery, one that could change the fate of humanity forever. The rhythmic hum of the machines echoed her anticipation, masking the fear that gnawed at the back of her mind. It's
Talk about
just
a mixed metaphor.
yeah, it's just the whole thing is like this. Like I read I feel like I could read a little bit more. Just absolute garbage.
Oh my God.
And
And this is
he did this and he was like, "Man, this is easy. What else can we do?"
it's so wild because it's just so divorced from reality. Like
Yeah,
it is just treating art, and the anime sickos have talked about this. Art is just like sludge.
right.
You just hit the little goop machine, and the tubby custard machine spits out the sludge, and then you
Right.
sell that
Right.
somehow. Even though looking at this, 7 ratings, 9.99 for a Kindle, he's probably made like $1
Yeah, I'm sure he
off of
hasn't
this.
made back whatever it costs to use uh Chat GPT or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you have to buy the
Mhm.
subscription to that or whatever.
Mhm.
Oh man, really, really, really dumb. really dumb story about what is happening on online and what everything is just going to become this. Like
Yeah.
this is just what the internet is going to become.
I mean, I feel hopeful now in a way, like it's kind of almost kind of accelerationist, but like they're having a lot of problems now with the AI models because they're using AI generated content
Yep, it breaks the
to
models
seed.
really, really quickly, and so the more slop there is online, the harder it's going to be to train, and it breaks down like really quickly when you train AI data on AI data. Um, so yeah, maybe the internet will just maybe all of these systems will collapse. That's what we can hope.
Yeah, we're gonna be living in Dune. We're like it's illegal to have internet
Yeah.
or any kind of thinking computer because I
We're not
really
gonna have
do
a
think
Butlerian jihad. We're just gonna have fucking. It's just gonna implode on itself. Like it's just gonna
Mhm.
eat itself.
Yeah, it's like the Marxist theory of just like, oh, these things are just like the fall of capital is inevitable. Like you don't
Yeah,
have to actually do anything, right?
yeah,
Uh, like I really do think we are not far off from a day where Twitter, for example, in particular, is just going to be bots posting shit and
yeah.
bots moderating that same shit. It's just
It
going to
it, it
be
already and
no
it
humans.
there already are places where like it's wild to see chat like these sort of LLM controlled bots like responding to each other, and it's like it's really wild. It's like the thing that we've always like this is the way the internet is always like it already felt like this before you could do this actively because there's so many people trying to make 0.00001 cents off of garbage, like if they spit enough garbage that makes them $1, like eventually you make money off of it, and so it's just spewing garbage, and that's already been the like what the algorithms have created, and so now it's just like we don't even it doesn't even take that human element, it's just to make the garbage. uh,
Hmm. Yeah. Gavin said, I mean, this is why the job I started off doing in grad school, content writing, doesn't really exist anymore, or only exists in the sense that you edit AI shit.
yep.
Yeah. I did a lot of like SEO writing and content writing after grad school as like a side hustle on sites like Upwork. And the work I was doing was very literally the stuff that people hire AI to do now, like write blog posts for their health website, or I just wrote a really shitty self-help book and I need someone to edit it. Except
Yeah.
now the books would be even shittier because at least it was like some guy with weird ideas was writing them back then.
Yeah, it's very good. I didn't save them, but there was a lot of really good fan art of the what did they Wonka Doodles and the unknown, which is fun. It's just and there's something really beautiful about like how humanity can like they're the ones that made the things that are actually fun about that is like actually humans had to do that. Like the reason it's bad is because they weren't given a budget and or direction. Like and even despite that, they're able to like there are certain amounts of artistry that we're able to make like happen. And it's just like humans make interesting art and you're not going to replace that with thoughtlessness. Like
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, like there's just there even in the most shitty of circumstances, humans are motivated to like have fun and be a little silly and do right by the kids and like,
yeah,
express themselves even when they're given the worst script and the shittiest stage
yep,
in which to do it. And that's beautiful. So we'll
that's beautiful.
we'll persist in the fall of everything. Um
Yeah, in the slop apocalypse.
yeah. Yeah, it kind of makes me think of the play, Mr. Burns. Gavin, you might know that play. It's a play about a post-apocalypse where so there's no electricity anymore, there's no entertainment, so people are just kind of in roving camps, and the way that they keep themselves entertained at night is by reenacting Simpsons episodes that they remember
Oh my
from
god,
before.
that's really good. That's
It's a one of Oh, it's really good. It's one of my favorite plays that I've seen because it shows people like, 3 years after the apocalypse, and then it shows people 50 years after the apocalypse, and how has this practice of reenacting half-remembered Simpsons episodes become a part of the culture over time.
Yeah,
and then it goes like 200 years into the future, and what impact has that had on the new culture? It's like it's really
that's really
cool. It
cool.
makes you feel such strange emotions watching it.
That's really cool. I need to see that.
Yeah, if it comes back here sometime, I'll make y'all come see it because it's
Yeah.
a lot of cool things about just like the human creative spirit,
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. So
Um, but yeah, so that was just a dumb thing. It's not even piss course.
no,
It's
it's just piss.
it's just piss.
It's
Yeah.
just pure piss.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um okay. Yeah, I was just double checking to see if I did really like this take, which was that it's just like it's just always sunny. Like it's just always
they
sunshine.
would do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would definitely do
We'll
something
make
like
so much
that.
money, give out chocolate. The kids will love it. I'll be Willie, it'll be great. Oh yeah, and I'll be the unknown. What? The unknown, man, the evil chocolate maker that lives in the walls. What kind of movie are you watching? There was a movie? Ugh.
That's so fucking real.
Oh, howdy
That's
condition,
really good.
Bleen. That Reign of Fire had a scene where they reenact Star Wars. That's amazing. That doesn't surprise me.
Oh,
All I know about
that's
Reign of
awesome.
Fire was there was the scene in the trailer where Matthew McConaughey, was it who fuck some big actor jumps at a dragon with an axe, but that's like the only time anything actually happens in that movie, and it's like at the last moment. um,
Oh,
but yeah,
good
this
shit.
was this just a little palate cleanser
Mm-hmm. A
between
little.
be, yeah, I think I watched it when it came out, or like, and I was very young, and I was like, what was that? Nothing happened, even though I was like a baby.
I have not seen that movie.
Yeah.
That one.
Uh so anyway, back to um to more pressing stuff. Um
Mm-hmm.
we did want to talk about Aaron Bushnell to some degree. I think mostly just because I don't know, we I don't know. I know I had a lot of feelings about it, and um yeah, I thought that it could be helpful to talk about some of them. Um
Mm-hmm.
one major thing that uh we wanted to talk about was that there is some evidence that he may have been closeted trans, which added a I don't know, adds a heavy aspect to it, and
Mm-hmm.
was a thing. I think I especially thought it might be helpful to talk about it here because I don't know if it's worth talking about. Um, oh yeah, did we drink? Yeah, please.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, hydration. Thank you, Aquarian.
I don't think my little alerts actually show up for that anymore. I don't know when I broke those, but
Yeah, I miss those
anyway,
sometimes.
yeah. So I'm not sure. I don't really have an agenda to what we should talk about it. It's just that it's been something on my mind, and I know you were talking about it being on your mind too. Um,
Yeah, I think a lot of the conversation about it happening online last week was very triggering.
yeah,
Just a lot of people immediately delving into discourse about like, was this the best way for someone to make an impact, or was he mentally ill? He couldn't have been mentally ill because this was such a politically principled thing to do, as if having mental illness in our society isn't inherently a state of political disaffection and clarity about that state of political disaffection.
absolutely,
So it was really hard to participate in that conversation. Um, I found as any, like if you have had close like suicides in your life, or if you've had ideation yourself, um, it felt difficult to actually participate in earnest because a lot of how people were talking about it was so just superficial and like scoring points online. Like,
Yeah, it was really disappointing to see people uh, like I mean, I saw people calling it um uh uh what's God, I'm so bad with words sometimes. Uh, like when appropriation, which was a really wild thing to say. There was some discussion that of there was some like discussions about people saying rest in power
mhm,
being like appropriative, which I don't necessarily like. I I th- I think that that's like a definitely not my place to say whether that's appropriate to say to someone who's non-black. Um, but it did feel like there was, especially when people were comparing it to like, I think that the really disgusting stuff was like comparing that act to appropriation because um like uh Thich Nhat Thich Nhat Hanh, is that how you pronounce it? Had done that, like there's some
that's
ownership
yeah.
of an act like that was so and so much of the discussion seemed to be that kind of stuff of wanting to downplay it, not to mention the way it was described, in larger liberal society.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, yeah, that was very, very difficult. And I do want to say, like, kind of going back to some of the stuff Jersey was talking about, like it in delving into this, I think it is important for us to delve into and also just like acknowledging at the same time the tensions of like this one white American person's actions get all of this attention while
Yeah.
so many resistant fighters in Palestine knowingly take acts of resistance that they know can result in their death against the IOF every day. So like we know how unbalanced that is.
Yeah.
Um, and sitting with that too, like, but the just the insensitivity with how people talk about these things and try to draw a firm line between what is an act of suicide and what is an act of protest, when I think, as all of our conversations so far today have been about, if you are in this position of recognizing that the nation state that you're a part of, all of the systems that you're embedded within feel inescapable and are doing evil things, you decide at a certain point what kinds of sacrifices you can make in resistance to that. And um, that because being complicit with the system is like that's made into a life or death matter by the power and violence of the system itself. Making a sacrifice is almost an act of self destruction, like
Yeah.
whether it's losing a job or losing your life. Um, and so we can talk about that without that being like wanting there to be like copycat cases or like saying that that's what in a prescriptive way what other people should do. Um,
It is frustrating that this is a thing that someone would feel the need to do because of course of course that's the thing to do. And I don't think that, yeah, I do think it's hard because, again, like you said, I don't want to be prescriptivist about it as in encouraging, but yeah, it's hard to grapple with, and it
mhm.
really it pulls into focus. um I don't know, our where we're at.
Yeah. Um, there's something that Photopotamus, our friend, I was talking with them about some of this stuff, and they were kind of talking about how like a lot of the times when they have felt the most like doing something like that, it is in this position of um, white guilt or feeling like there is this like taint on you that can't be taken off, that your existence and complicity in these systems is so evil that the only way out that you can imagine is to no longer be a part of it at all, and how like
Yeah.
and I'm not saying any of this to like devalue like Aaron's choice, because I think that is somebody's own choice to make, and I think there is a power in saying I refuse to be complicit in things. But there's both of those things kind of are true at once, where it's I think it is in some ways because of just like white supremacy and how all encompassing it is, and imperialism and how all encompassing it is, that it can feel like, well, there is nothing I can do but this.
Yeah.
Um, and that happens in a position of not having enough community, or not feeling like you have enough power alongside others to do something else,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Totally. It definitely seems to be a part of his decision being in the Air Force. And I read there's a really good um, sort of compilation of friends' experiences with Aaron Bushnell as a friend, and on Crime Think, which I can link.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw that or read that, but
Yeah, I saw that interview, and that something that just really stood out to me with both the friend and him was just like, these like incredibly sweet, sensitive young people
yeah,
who were both in the military and just like stuck in the military.
yeah. One of his friends described it as what was it? Um, indenturement, I think. Like he
Mm-hmm.
really felt trapped by that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
And that just days before his self-immolation, he was getting, marching orders essentially to like more military are being dispatched to Palestine. So
yeah,
that being a really big reason why, like uh, he was looking into conscientious objector status, and he had some friends who had also become conscientious objectors. But that's really difficult to do. Um, and I think he, decided that this would be a more visible and impactful act of drawing attention to this rather than going through that
yeah.
process.
I think that he was aware of his role as or like his position and as a um you know like at least appearing to be a white cis het um man, specifically in the military, and using that. It was really upsetting to find out that there was actually another person who had done this a few months ago,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, a
that
black woman.
right that I didn't think of myself as being relatively plugged in to that kind of stuff, and I didn't hear about that. And uh so I think that he was very tactical about, you know knowing his position and knowing how to put that out there. And so there is some evidence that basically based on his Reddit history, is a big part of his but also the Twitch account that because she streamed himself self-immolating, and that the Twitch account was called Lily Anarkitty, which personally I didn't need more evidence than that. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, of course, somebody suggested that could have been his actual cat's name, which I was like, okay, that would make sense, but that has been like that just wasn't his cat's name. Um, but other than an explanation like that, that's like kind of the only way. Like that, I mean, you know. if you're a trans person, that's
You recognize these things. This.
yeah. And so that was a, and I don't think I have an answer to what this means or what how to talk about it, but it's it was an added tragedy for me to find that out. And there again, there's more evidence, and it's not clear. He definitely, it's my understanding he didn't actually ever identify as trans. I think maybe he, I there was there a,
Can we pull up the assigned media article that I have here?
yeah
on
yeah
my
yeah yeah.
screen
Do you
share?
have that? Do you have that up?
Yeah, I have that on my screen share. Because yeah, even just seeing again the name of the Twitch handle, it's if you recognize it, you recognize it. This is an article in Assigned Media. It's reported out by Evan Urquhart, who is a trans writer who used to be with Slate, and then he founded this group. I've had some issues with how he's written about detransition in the past, but he's course corrected on that. So like um, water under the bridge there. But he's here interviewing a trans femme writer, Isabel Morton, and she also has some great tweets about this that we can look at. The Twitch account was Lily Ann or Kitty. That was also the Discord handle that Bushnell used. His profile picture on there was Lyanna Mormont from Game of Thrones. So like a young warrior woman. He was really active in various anarchist Discord communities, and did go by Lily on certain Discord groups. And there are the people that interacted with Bushnell primarily online who did interact with them as Lily, being the name that he used, and sometimes using she/her pronouns. Let's see. There's some messages that he posted in various military subreddits and trans adjacent subreddits. So here's one that he posted. That's pretty explicit. Gender transition in the Air Force. Where you get the emotional energy to do this, I do not know. Fucking hardcore. I hope to be like you one day.
Yeah, this was in response to someone who was transitioning in the Air Force and like identified as a trans woman,
Hmm.
really explicitly in the thread.
Yeah. He was in a trans Star Wars subreddit, a programming Reddit that's Unix socks, which is just again the very like trans girl programmer with the striped socks kind of trope. So like, and he posted a lot of very pro-trans arguments in military subreddits, and would really get into fights about it with people, and just kind of like really standing up for trans service members. For me, that's enough. Like,
Yeah,
uh,
I mean, yeah, I think that it's, I don't know, it's fair to be like, well, we can't know, but I don't know. There's not, there's not. I don't know how you get more like definitive
more
than that. Like, aside from finding a thing that's like, I'm trans and I'm closeted, like
Mhm.
it's pretty much explicit as it gets. Um,
um Yeah, and they talk about Isabel and Evan in this article, like, when he died, he identifies himself as Aaron Bushnell. Again, it's, we could say, is a very intentional decision about like the optics,
yeah,
right? And so I'm ki- I'm still using that name and pronouns right now, even though it does feel
wrong.
complicated.
I
Yeah, it does
yeah,
feel wrong. Yeah.
it's complicated, and I feel. I mean, I'm not sure I would want to have this conversation in a different under different circumstances. Like I very much think of this this Twitch stream as being not only but really a lot like kind of mostly in community, and why I feel, like I don't have questions about whether we should talk about it here, but it is like it does feel like a very intentional um yeah um purposeful thing to identify as Aaron Bushnell in in that sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. And at the same time, like Isabel does go into this in the article of like he knew he was very intentional in how he staged everything about getting this messaging out. So he
Yeah,
could have changed the name of his Twitch. He certainly knew how to do that. So like seeing this as
absolutely.
both as both signaling who he was and choosing optics, I think I think it was kind of a way of people who would recognize it would know,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
mean I mean I saw I didn't need to know anything else. I saw the username and I was like, yeah, it's just, you meet enough trans femmes and you kind of know, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you recognize um the signifiers and your and he like as and this is Isabel's Twitter, like she at one point in this thread says something about like either he was like the coolest cis person alive who was like on so many levels of trans discourse, which is also amazing, like
Right.
um and I think like this tweet is good. I find in my opinion, if my hypothesis is true, I do not think Bushnell's gender diminishes the value of her sacrifice. Egg or closeted trans people are still whole people, perhaps dissociating or in pain, but wholly capable of honor and conviction. Um,
Yeah.
and we'd better start working out how to say that.
I I see it as, I mean, I don't know, maybe this is certainly biased and from my own perspective, but it's hard not to see it as an intentional choice that this was more important than living as her true self, which it feels like a even greater sacrifice, which is a hard thing to grapple with. Um, yeah, and you know, it just reminds me of all the, it's so disgusting the way that people, um, are like, if you were in Palestine, they would be transphobic or homophobic to you or whatever, and because that shit is so disgusting, and it's I mean it's wrong on so many levels, but a big thing is like there are transgender Palestinians. There are so
Mm-hmm.
many transgender Palestinians. There are so many queer, like as many as any other place in the world, and they are also being denied, you know, the ability to be who they are. They're being denied the ability to fucking live, let alone, you know, exist as who they are. And yeah,
And they are here too. Like we're not any better as a culture or a country. Like
yes,
and so much of the homophobia and transphobia that exists in other countries is because of imperialism and
absolutely. Yeah,
like even the construction of those things.
yeah,
Um, there was a comment in the chat before that about mental illness that I think feels like relevant in talking about all of these things interlocking together. Good Rumsgate said, so disappointed in the so-called pro-Palestinian liberals discussing Aaron's act as a mental illness, when mental illness has been used as a weapon to silence and detain activists in the past.
yeah,
How long before they pathologize being pro-Palestinian?
yeah. I mean, that's already similar to, it feels similar to the way that Jewish anti-Zionists are portrayed as being not Jewish. It feels pathologizing in a way. Definitely a different thing, but certainly similar power structures in place.
Yeah, it's almost like a no true Scotsman fallacy, right? It's like no real
Right.
Jewish person would be anti-Zionist. To be Jewish is Zionist, and so no reasonable person, no person with an accurate view of reality would take these actions. Is like
Yeah.
the like implication,
Yeah.
and yeah, schizophrenia became a black disease during the civil rights movement. Like it was originally, there's a whole book about this called The Protest Psychosis, schizophrenia used to be a diagnosis that was given to white women of upper middle class backgrounds who basically their husbands were dissatisfied with them and they
Yeah.
were psychotic, and so then they would get a schizophrenia diagnosis. So already a diagnosis of the politically inconvenient right there. But
Yeah.
then in the civil rights era, when we have lots of Black Americans rising up and saying the system's completely turned against them, they were diagnosed as paranoid and mentally ill.
And it still happens. I
Mhm.
can't, like, I mean, I know that on an intellectual level, but it was so illuminating. I think all the time about the article that the guy that worked at um
Cards Against Humanity.
yes, yeah, because there I mean there was a lot of abuse that was happening there, and there's a great, like, if you want to look into this, there was like a great Polygon article that like kind of blew the lid off this, and it had a bunch of sources within, you know, like current and past employees and all of the different abuses. But the specific thing, there was also another article that one of the employees who like specifically was cited there, like told his own personal story, and it included like the guy that the you know the guy that owned it, like, ended up basically having him committed, like,
Mhm.
because he's a black man in this like writing group, and part of his job, like he was told, was to be like, you know, keep us in line, and he's like, no, this particular card is racist, and this is racist, and we shouldn't have it there. And that caused enough blowback that they ended up like ended up basically being gaslit into by his boss being like, you're having a mental health crisis, when he wasn't. And then he like he was like, all right, fine, I'll go to the hospital to and to get you off my back. And thank you, Devin. And then
Mhm.
like his parents ended up believing him, just because it was such an like wild situation. And then when he was in inpatient hospitalization, the doctors were telling him that he was paranoid. And this is, you know, a couple years ago. This is 2021 or 2020 or something. And this is like still ongoing. And this guy's a writer. Like, this is not like
Mhm.
a home, like somebody, like an unhoused person that is like in addiction recovery, that can't, you know, that it might not be able to like be as, you know, uh like f- well articulating their struggles. This is a fucking writer.
Mhm.
This is somebody who like knows how to you know, really knows how to speak to people and exist in these kind of systems. And even he is being told he's being paranoid for stating that racism exists. So anyway,
Mhm.
that's a complete tangent, but it really goes to show, like, these are the exact fucking structures that are, you know, that are against a pro-Palestinian movement.
Mhm. And that's why you can't disentangle someone's mental state from the choices that they make and the actions that they take. Like, the
Yeah.
mental state that someone is in is a reflection of how they're viewed in society, how they're oppressed, and a lot of paranoia, as it gets called, is accurate. A
Yeah.
lot of despair is rooted in experience and an accurate recognition of the power structures that are restricting a person's options.
Yeah.
And so, yes, Aaron Bushnell can be um, dealing with dysphoria, depressed, suicidal, and taking, let's say, we don't really know that, but let's say,
Right.
um, even if we allow that, take a principled, clear headed political action
Yeah.
because that depression might exist for good reasons. And so the expression of that anguish happens for good reasons. Even if we also think, like, you know, if it were me, I would sure hope that that would not be the route that anybody that I care about takes, but I'm not in control of them, you know, like
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
shouldn't be, you know.
Yeah, I think it's really good to that we have this discussion in the same stream that we talked to Jersey, because I um I do think it's helpful to have, you know, there are a lot of things you can do there is a, and you are, you're valuable here existing. um because I know I have, and continue to have a lot of suicidal ideation. That's I've been depressed my whole life. That's a thing that I've dealt with. So I want to make that clear of, you know it's, it is hard to see those discussions, but yeah, it's a complicated thing. And again, that this always comes back to the kinds of conversations I have on here, because it is a complicated thing to not belittle or demean, or you know to recognize the sacrifice that Aaron Bushnell made without, I don't know, also acknowledging that it can be, really triggering for us, and that are in that state. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a complicated thing, and it's okay to have those complicated feelings about it, and we definitely should not be belittling the what he did and all that stuff.
Yeah. I felt frustrated with some of the people who romanticized it in certain ways,
Yeah.
like in ways that I just felt were really insensitive to, like, just the number of us that are seeing these things, who care about things, who want to have a life of meaning, make a difference, resist oppressive things, who also have had or have suicidal ideation,
Yep.
like, because I don't think that is the message that we want. Like, I think we do want to have networks of community care and collective power, so that people don't have to do things like this, and to not have to feel like that's the only option that they have, like,
Yeah.
I don't want to take away people's autonomy to do the decision make the decision with their body and their life that they decide is best, but I want people to have more of a choice than that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So, there were some things in the chat. Good Drumsgate said, I was sectioned in 2015 for helping homeless people. And then they made me sign a piece of paper in order to get released that said I wouldn't help homeless people or disobey the police. Was the only way I could
Jesus.
get out of the hospital. I saw a lot of messed up shit.
That's incredibly fucked up.
Gavin said, I mean, not the same because I'm not black, but when I was hospitalized, they kept telling me I was being paranoid because they were misgendering me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The not respecting authority enough, not accepting any abuse from authority gets seen as mental illness, as
Yeah.
irrationality.
I think it is really important and helpful to talk about, the kinds of things like masking. I thought it was really, really important. Like, I think it was Quarian in the chat when we were talking to Jersey, talking about masking being pacifying, and and you know our what we are told to do with our mental illness is to minimize ourselves and to comply, and that is really negative for us. And of course we talk a lot about autism and masking, but I think that that's all kinds of mental illness, and just any neurodivergence, and any kind of thing that is outside of the norms. Like, we are told to, it is mentally ill to do things that are, outside of the norm, and that is a uh, like, shrinks your soul in a like an individual way, like that. I mean, that's what have talked about in all of your writing about unmasking, is just like the way it's how horrible that is on an individual level, but it's also, like we've been saying here, like Quarian had said in that comment, it's like it makes you passive, it shrinks you into the cog in the system that the system wants you to be, and that prevents you know, disobedience of any kind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, just like Quarian just said in the chat, it's about making yourself less inconvenient, more compliant. Those are like the marks of sanity, and those are the marks of being an acceptable disabled person.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's something
Um,
that happens to all of us, even, especially disabled and people, disabled people and people of color and and minorities in general. But it's those pressures are put on all of us, and it's that, you know, all the way that all of our struggles are linked is that we have to overcome that for ourselves and overcome that for society and all of the people that are being crushed by the imperialist systems that that we're under.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and it makes me think too about the fact that like masking and closeting both being
Yeah.
dual forces of the same thing, and
Yeah.
there are a lot of closeted trans people who wind up in the military because
Yeah.
that is both because it takes advantage of a lot of people in desperate economic straits or
Mm-hmm.
trying to escape abusive, upbringings and things like that, but also because it is like the ultimate place of conformity and compliance and gender conformity,
Yeah. It's the
right?
ultimate what is it, beard, like what is the I feel like I've heard a word for like when like a trans femme person grows a beard right before they come out because they're like,
Mhm.
like the closet beard, or like, I swear there's a term, but it's like the ultimate form of that.
Yeah, you're right. Right before the if you're lucky and the dam breaks and you say like, okay, I am gonna be authentic to myself, that last bit of like, I'm gonna try so hard to be good at being a man in this case, like
Yep.
that I'm gonna do the most masculine thing. I know so many trans people that have been through that,
Yep.
who are ex-military members. Um, and the US military is the largest employer of trans people in the United States, like,
It's
which people
wild.
often don't realize. Like, so I think that like has to be a consideration in this stuff, like the amount of they take advantage of poor people and tell them a bunch of lies and script them, and then they're stuck. They take advantage of people who are trying to escape bad home lives, people like that too. And then they take trans people who are dealing so much with like how to navigate longing to non-conform, and they say, we're going to build you up, we're going to make you a man, we're going to do this and this, and like that hurts a lot of neurodivergent people also, and a lot of closeted trans people.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important lens with which to think about this stuff and why it's important to talk about. Um,
Yeah. Even though it, like, specifically this stuff is, it's so fraught with it is not a clear cut thing to talk about, but it's important to I don't know, have a place to talk about it and that kind of stuff.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, because there's a lot of demonizing of military members, rightly so, because of just the evil that the U.S. military does, and it's I don't know, it's just difficult. It's different to talk about versus being a cop because you can stop being a cop at any time.
Yes. Yes. And I yeah, I don't I feel like there is also so much, there's so much propaganda to, in general, but especially like it is like purposefully, like it's hard not to believe that the reason we, don't have better public education is and public uh insurance is because, every time there's political talk to about like more public uh like what adult education, what is call it, like, college education, that is the big people that like fight it, is like the military, because it would destroy enrollment rates, because that's why people go to enroll in the military,
Hmm.
or enlist,
Yeah,
enlist rather.
yeah. Anytime the economy gets better for poor people, military enrollment gets worse. So like when it's easier to get a job, when education's more affordable, all that stuff. Yeah. So it's this inherently exploitative, coercive framework.
Yeah.
So yeah. So when you talk about somebody reaching the point of despair where they're trying to get out and they're trying to make a difference in spitting in the face of this evil apparatus, and that being what they feel like the only choice that they have to make is like that's all
Yeah.
part of the context of that decision.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. I don't know if there were any last comments from Chad or from us. I should probably get off on time today. But yeah, thank you for everybody who's been here. This is a hard conversation, and again, thank you so much to Jersey, and definitely follow. Please consider supporting them if you can. In we shared that document. I don't know if you can put that in the chat again. And it will be in the
Sure,
VOD.
yeah.
If it's not in the VOD, please yell at us.
Bonk me, and I will add it. Oh, yeah. I wish there was a way I could just scrub every link in the chat and just like have that, but I guess that's just
there
called
might
being organized.
Oh my god, that might be a thing. I wonder if we could make a bot that will do that for us. That does feel
my
possible.
God.
If you know how to do
Yeah.
that, let us know.
Yeah, let me just pull up the link real quick. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of things. Even if you're feeling completely in despair, there's a lot of ways that you can make a difference in this world, and
Yes.
I still believe that it is true that just your like continued existence as a trans person, as a mad person, as a neurodivergent person is important.
Yes.
And it's very easy in times like these to discount the impact that you're having. You really never know how much of an impact you're having on other people.
Yes.
That makes a difference, that helps them carry the work forward. Like you always are going to underestimate that stuff because you just can't see it.
Yeah.
And it's, I never want to do the like, oh, like it's not that suicide's selfish. It's not that it's the easy way out. No, like none of that shit's true.
Yeah.
Like people make that decision for a lot of reasons. But and and sometimes it's just people feel like they're in an unbearable spot, but a lot of times that degree of it feeling completely unbearable doesn't last, and things happen that even if you live with depression the whole rest of your life, you can look at it and say, I did a lot of meaningful things,
Yes. Yes.
So
Absolutely. Yeah. You're yeah. So
there's the link to the toolkit in the
yeah,
chat.
There's the link again. Thank you everybody so much for hanging out. Yeah. Let's see if
Yeah, this was a great conversation. Thanks everybody for sharing your experiences. It sucks that so many of us have been chewed up and spit out by these systems, but it's nice to be around people who get it. So
yeah, it's always incredible that I feel like this is a thing. I should have been worried about the chat because it could be so awful, but it, like every time I think about like, oh yeah, chats can be awful in the internet, and it's like, no, you guys are always like, that didn't even cross my mind to be worried about that because you guys are amazing. So
yeah, it's like everybody here has such firsthand experiences with this stuff. It's like, all right, so it ends up being very helpful to talk about it.
See if we got anybody we can raid.
Yeah, let's see if anything nice and light and stupid.
We do have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
this? No. There's like this whole. I'm still getting used to. It's very cool. There's a lot. There's a lot here. This.
Oh yeah, the way it like recommends stuff now.
It's very cool, but it's there's a lot to it. And
Yeah.
I always look at like I'm at the end of a 3-hour stream and I'm like, all right, let's, and then I'm like, it's like it keeps
Yeah, it's a lot
it
to
keeps
process.
uncheck. There's a check to it's just things you're following, but it unchecks it. Okay. Did you see anything that stood out to you?
Nothing that I was like, oh, we should definitely do that. Oh, apparently Fortnite is down. First Facebook and now Fortnite. Shit.
Did you you follow somebody, Laura K. Buzz, that's playing Infinite Wealth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the author of Uncomfortable Labels, My Life as a Gay Autistic Trans Woman.
Oh, very cool.
So she's cool. Yeah.
All right. Let's go over there.
Yeah. Be good. Artistic Bump that said, thanks for hanging out with me while I was trying to get my medical assistance renewed with my current county, only to finally discover that the tech issue has to be fixed by my previous county, and their call hours are closed until Monday.
Oh God! Hell!
Oh, bureaucracy is such a fuck. Oh, my condolences, Artistic Bum. Oh.
All right. Well, we'll send y'all. We'll send y'all all over to Laura, and we'll catch you next week. Maybe we'll do a next. We got Devin has been streaming fucking
Baldur's Gate.
Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
If you're not watching that, it's been very fun.
I might do more tonight. I might dig into it. Yeah.
Get in on that. It's been very fun.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it.
Okay. All right. We're rating.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.